Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Hopefully you are all doing really well. It's a beautiful sunny morning here today for me, nice and cool, like I like it. The weekend was very, very quiet. I had a super quiet weekend. Hopefully you had yourselves a really good weekend. Not too much rain. I know the America's getting slammed by a couple of fronts bashing into each other, and you're going to have some storms here for a while. I hear that the winter is continuing. It's one of those years. But nevertheless, hopefully you're all doing well and welcome to you. I'm going to go over here and hit the like and share button. Hopefully you guys will do the same. Let people know what we're doing, of course. And today we got a bunch of stuff we could have talked about, but as you can see in the title, I want to talk a little bit about Pandemonium because wow. I mean, wow. Things are certainly hitting the fan. Now, is that simply just the death throes of evil ideologies? We could be hopeful, I suppose, but who knows, right? And sometimes those things can be very dangerous in their going out. But we've seen a lot of craziness, particularly around that last school shooting we had. Wonderful. We can't seem to go more than a couple of years without one, which is horrible. But what's most horrible is how many people think it's a good thing to praise, particularly this last one, and it's of course outrageous. But that's what we're seeing. We're seeing across the board, and we're also seeing a lot of other chaos. We're seeing, comic book movies seem to be crashing. I don't know if it's the movies themselves, the industry itself, if it's not more just the movies they're putting out. Other things are doing really well. For instance, we had John Wick come out, and it's doing very well. And seeing as it didn't cost, $500 million to make, they probably will make money within the next week or two on that film. I can't imagine they spent more than what 50 million on it. I mean, come on. So you can make great popular movies without having to spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And I don't exaggerate this. Ant-Man and the Wasp, of course, is looking at a budget of what 400 million overall after advertising and such, close to $500 million. And that's not even one of the biggest price Marvel movies that has come out now, is it? And it's absolutely failed. Shazam is bombing, even though I've heard it's not so bad. But we've seen some success elsewhere, so it's certainly not cinema fatigue. If anything, people are chomping at the bit for better movies, I would imagine. But in with that said, and seeing as a lot of these woke movies are failing, one movie I've seen coming up that I got my fingers crossed for is Renfield. Now Renfield is Renfield from the Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it's looking at a toxic relationship because it's like 100 years after, or more than 100 years, like 140 years after the titular characters end their book there, Bram Stoker, and Renfield is still with them, with Dracula. And of course, it's a horribly abusive relationship, and it's how Renfield is wants to be free. He just wants to be free, Gridlock. But if you go watch some of the trailers and behind the scenes stuff, Nick Cage is on, dude. He's absolutely on. So I got my fingers crossed because Nick Cage needs a good director. That's just he's one of those. He's not Anthony Hopkins. He needs a good director, and if he does, he'll put out an amazing film. That's how Nick is. So I hope that's the case with this because it looks great. It looks fun, super fun. So I got my fingers crossed with that one. But we are, as of late, Grimlock, I've been watching old movies because I can't find new
Oh,
ones
no,
to watch. Hey, Grimlock.
you know,
So you get your mic working. That's good to hear. Yeah, no, I've been watching a lot of old movies, dude, because there's just nothing new to watch. And it's weird for me because I'm one of those people that only watches a movie once. Right? I'm
yeah.
not a multiple viewer. Some people are, but I can't do that. But so I've been watching stuff that came out when, 40 years ago or so or older. I did see a movie this weekend with my wife I had never seen before, and it was pretty good. George C. Scott's The Changeling. Never seen that, never saw that one before. It's pretty good.
Never seen.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. Usually one or two categories. It's I'll watch it once and I'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
And it's a movie I like. I could pretty much watch it whenever because like a lot of new stuff, and I'm probably even more curmudgeon than you when it comes to this. A lot of new stuff just don't appeal to me.
Yeah.
Like the movie, the Reinfeld movie you was talking about.
Yeah.
I was interested in seeing that movie until I saw Aquafina in it, and that pretty
Yeah.
much killed all interest I have in seeing that movie.
Fair. To be fair, and of course Nick is being Nick and he's praising everyone because that's
Yeah,
what he does.
it looked like it was going to be something off the wall, and then I saw her in it, and it's like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I had the same feeling. My wife did too, because my wife more because she's a really bad actress. But to be, I don't know that it matters. But to one thing I did notice because I watched behind the scenes making of a little advertisement, and
Yeah.
what she was doing something I've never seen her do before because normally she gets up and she's like women yay feminist men bad, she's on message constantly,
Yeah.
right? But in this one she didn't say anything like that at all. She was actually speaking like a you know actress, normal.
Hmm.
So I don't know that that means anything. But I did see that. But I'm a big Nick Cage fan, you know that, Grimlock. And
Oh yeah.
I know he puts out a lot of crap, but every now and then when he's got that right director, a little gem like Pig, the last one was Pig or Mandy.
Yeah.
There's so many good examples of these really good movies he puts out, and I just hope this falls in that category and not the other. But and to be fair, this is going to be a lot less him and much more of
The other
Renfield,
guy.
right? The other guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, who knows? But I can hope so.
I hope it turns out well, but I'm probably not going to see that.
Yeah. Well,
But
yeah.
I'm like you. I watch classics most of the weekend.
Yeah, no, I one of the thing I watched last week was with my son was here for a while 'cause he's in Tokyo now. But
Yeah.
I he had never seen the original Alien and Aliens. So I watched them back to back and boy do they
Wow.
hold up, dude.
Yes, they do.
Holy. I mean and it must have been some kind of remastered 4K or something like that because it was stunningly beautiful, the film quality, right?
Hmm.
So there must have been some Blu-ray thing they had done. Of course, those the film quality is always top end anyway. It's better than our TVs and cinema could have shown in the past, so that's nice. But
Yep.
one thing I kept ogling throughout the movie is the set design, dude. Damn. It's so good. The background, there's so much time and love and effort put into the background of every shot in that movie. In Alien and Alien more so, I think. It's just so lovingly put together. And that stuff is literally just background. It has nothing to do with what's happening. But oh, it's so immersive. Great job, man.
Before the philosophy of fuck it, we'll green screen it.
Yes, before that. Before that. Um although I have to say I did watch a special here recently from Unreal Engine itself. They actually put
Yeah.
a video out showing some of the new, because I guess they had intentions on the main thing about this was shading and light was the new Unreal Engine is that was their main focus, but they've been
Yeah.
focusing and tried to improve other things too. And I guess they're very proud of their work with foliage, greenery, and they did a
Yeah.
whole video showing the new technology they have that's encased inside of Unreal Engine 5. Dude, it's freaking impressive, man. I mean, really, they're doing a good job. But anyway, I got Roger over here. Hello, Roger. I
Mm.
got Edwin as well. Aloha, Edwin. Nice to see you, dude. Now, Edwin is over on the East Coast now. He's in Appalachia, I believe. And how are things going over there right now, Edwin? How are things for you? Kind of curious. It's been a very short period, but I'm assuming he's going to start to formulate a plan here soon. Just curious what he's thinking about doing. Of course, our prayers certainly go out to Edwin and all the trouble that happened with him. But hopefully
Yep.
things are starting to get back on track for him. As much as they can, I suppose. But I'm just curious
Yeah.
how he's doing over there. So let us know, Edwin. We'd love to hear from it. Although I guess he's still doing his Middle Earth story time, right? I think the girls had mentioned that he was still doing that, or at least in a truncated form. The girls,
Mm.
meaning the Lester sisters. I'm definitely an old man. Oh well. You don't listen to the Drone Recorded Fan Edition?
Yeah. What was it? You had your what shoot off this past Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
We do, we do. But the girls are a nice addition. I really like the fact that we have so many women that come in. I mean, we have,
Yeah.
oh, let's see, you got one, two, three, four, five women on the regular. That's pretty good, dude. You know,
And pretty good artist.
they're amazing artists. Actually, Gabby changed her work hours, so we don't get to see her as much. But when she does pop in, boy, damn, that girl's really good. Kima's a cheater. I mean, she's just a full on pro. I mean, she's a pro. Um, Edwin says, good, been clearing land and planting gardens. Well, that's nice. Staying close to home for now. We started again about 2 weeks ago. I'll put some gardening photos in the Discord. Dude, please. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I wish I had time to do more of that. I used to do a lot of that stuff when I was younger, farming, landscaping, worked my grandparents' farm and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that kind of work, but boy, am I far away from that now. You ever work
Hmm.
on a farm or done any kind of landscaping work?
Um, my grandmother at her house every summer we would go over there and help her clear out because she had like a. I guess you could say it was a little garden. It wasn't like particularly big,
Hmm.
but she had like her little area where she would grow tomatoes.
Oh yeah.
She would have a grapevine
Hmm.
going around the fence. That grapevine could be a pain in the ass, but
Yeah, but it's good
every
work
time
though. It feels good. I like doing that kind of stuff.
that was our every that was like every summer thing
Yeah.
for years. Like,
Yeah, I got a few students that are similar to that. They go and help grandma and grandpa with the farm, on the weekends and stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool, dude. It's good for you. I actually think, farm life for a kid, at least a little bit of a touch with it is good for you. I really think it is. Like one of the, well, I don't know, it's not a problem, but one of the issues that I'm dealing with right now is my dog is in a state of death, right? I mean,
oh
he has really good days and really, really, really bad days, right? So it could be any moment now that he
yeah.
passes. Now, I grew up, like I said, doing those kind of things, working with animals. I've slaughtered animals, I've hunted, I've had pets. So I have experience with, death. I mean, it's just part of life. But she's never had a pet before. And she's not handling it very well, Grimlock.
Um, I will quote the great George Carlin about when it comes to dogs. So the cute little things, but you're investing in a small tragedy.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It is true. George, the wisdom of George. You know, the interesting thing when I was really, really, really young, I remember seeing him on the I think it was Ed Sullivan. Was it Ed
Yep,
Sullivan?
that's where
Or
I think that was one of his first appearances. It was either him or Jack Benny.
yeah, well, I don't know if know Jack Benny. I remember Ed Sullivan when I was little with my grandpa. Well, because he liked it. But you know, and he was very different back in
Yeah,
those days. It was in the 80s, I think, that he really became George
he
Carlin,
turned
you
that
know?
corner.
Yeah.
Well, because people don't like. Well, you might know he was in. He wanted to be like Danny Kaye.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, everybody did,
That
didn't
was
they?
his
Yeah.
inspiration.
Yeah.
And
That's
Danny
true.
Kaye, that was a bad man back in the day. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
don't I
no,
don't
he ain't playing around, dude.
he I think a lot of people would would be entertained for hours going back on his old stuff because they used to play that a lot back. Well, you remember back in New York in the old days, they used to play that a lot.
Sure. Oh yeah,
His old
yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and that was the guy he most wanted to be like. But George got into middle age, and he took a turn as and became the
Curmudgeon.
signature middle age curmudgeon.
That's right. That's right. But
Much
he was
much like
wonderful
Dave
though.
Chappelle has around the same age, and everybody seems to not be reacting to it particularly well.
Right. No,
Like
I get that comparison. The difference though is George was the most neutral human you could ever meet. I mean, he was
yeah,
super neutral, and you know he would, and that gave him the power to joke about it a little bit like Richard Pryor, right? He could joke about all kind of things because you know, like Richard's another good example. Richard could
hmm
joke about white people, he could joke about black people, he could joke about deaf and blind people. He didn't care because he was so
yep,
neutral, right? These days, it's harder to be neutral. I think Dave Chappelle is leans racist, dude. He really does. And so does Chris Rock. I saw my wife watched his last thing, last stand up. I watched it, dude. It was
hmm
hardcore racist, full left woke racist, just racist. Now he was doing an act to almost an entire black audience, so I kind of get that a little bit, but there's a difference. I mean, you know, Eddie is another example. You know, he's raunchy, right? But he
yep.
no, Rich so is Richard Pryor. But Eddie took it to another level, and Eddie would make plenty of racist jokes, but they were fair all around. And Chappelle
Oh
kind of
yeah,
is curious to me because he used to lean heavy into mocking the really bad parts of black culture, right? He used to lean
yep.
heavy into that, and he got a lot of trouble from Oprah and Bill Cosby and stuff like that. They were very angry with him and chased him out of the industry, right? Um,
Well,
so I
them
don't.
wanting him to wear a dress chased him out of the industry more than anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's just it's a bit of a shame. I understand it's comedy and all that, and you have to give a quarter. But I don't know. It's a little much, dude. They're not neutral anymore, and that's a problem. Edwin says another week or
Um,
so. I'll do substitute teacher training and do some volunteer work. Nice. Although I've done that in the Americas, Edwin, and strap in, dude. It's
well,
the gardening photo is posted. Nice, thank you. Hard to go wrong pandering to the biases of your audience. Now that is true, Edwin. I understood that. I
yeah.
did understand that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, and I'll say that it's harder. It's a lot harder to have nuance these days. It
Yeah,
really is.
that's true.
And it
Yeah.
kind of sucks that it is that way because everybody wants to pretend like things are so much harder than it used to be. It's like, no,
No,
it really
it's
isn't. You're
easier.
making it.
It's easier, actually. Yeah.
You're
And
making
that's
it.
yeah. I think that's the problem, Grimlock. It's
And
easier,
and
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 people don't know what to do with their idle hands.
yeah, and the thing is, even now, like I don't know if I would ever say Chappelle was ever neutral because poking poking fun at racism, however people want to look at it, it's always been his shtick.
It is, but
It's just
it was more back and forth where now it's leaning very
it's
heavily. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean,
It's a cheap laugh, dude.
it
Racism
is,
is a
but
cheap laugh. Yeah.
it's also leaning that way because it's kind of funny, especially considering how people have say they are open minded and like okay, the people who swear that they're open minded are so into their bubbles. The moment somebody says anything remotely controversial, it becomes a problem, and it's like, I mean, because people forget Chappelle's appearances first appearance was with Mel Brooks on Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there's anybody who's gonna bring you in who's gonna do a racist joke, it's fucking Mel Brooks.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah. First one on board for the Jew joke is Mel Brooks, Super Jew
yeah.
himself. Yeah, no, Mel, it was irreverent. Actually is. I think he's still alive.
Well, I haven't seen it yet, but he finally did History of the World Part Two, and he released it as I think what's a 6 episode miniseries on Hulu. I haven't
Is
watched it yet.
is that gonna work in this day and age though?
I don't know. And the thing is, for me, I know it's not going to be the same because that crew he had back then,
Oh yeah, my God,
you know,
Harvey Keitel and
Harvey Korman
oh yeah,
and
my God,
Madeline
dude.
Kahn
Uh
and
huh.
Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder and all these people. They just had
Yeah, they were
not,
awesome.
there was just great, and they had a great timing and a lot of and there's a lot of that's lost in comedy these days when it
Yeah.
comes to that, and timing to me is a big thing, and it's like, well,
You know,
just
it's true.
watching them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, a good example when we talk about Mel Brooks, you're getting into Carol Burnett, right? And
Oh yeah, shit,
Vicki
timing.
Lawrence. I mean, Jesus, monsters of comedy right there. I mean, Carol Burnett's the funniest woman I've ever seen in my life, without
Even
question.
even
Yeah.
even her episode of the Twilight Zone
Yeah.
was pretty fucking
Yeah.
funny.
But I mean, but that crew that Mel put together was quite impressive. I just don't know how well it would
Yeah.
sell in these day and age. Is all. Let's see here. Edwin says, though the weak Caucasian comedy is always weird to me after growing up in a rural setting and serving in the infantry. Yeah, maybe it's urban whites that read us off. Nah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Matter of fact, most of the problems we seem to be having in the West are weak Caucasians. Edwin. There's plenty of people that are glomming onto it, but it's the Karens that are causing it for sure. And I do love that new terminology. We get new idioms and slang all the time, right? It's just language is constantly evolving everywhere all the time, right? But yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of them are like, yeah, whatever, that's lame, right? It's not really a very clever. Karen just just was a perfect meme, dude. Uh,
I like how the media tried to change the definition of Karen the moment they found out about it.
oh, they changed. They're really into changing definitions, and it's sad for
Oh,
me because you guys know that I write stuff, academic stuff, nothing anyone would be interested in. And the stuff I write are mainly for textbooks, right?
yeah.
College textbooks. And, I'm not involved in the publishing or any of that kind of side. I just get requested to write a chapter here or there for things, right? So I have no connection or understanding of the publication aspect of it. But a lot of the stuff I've done in the past goes through Oxford Press, but some of it's gone through Cambridge as well, and which seem to be the big daddies, I guess. But Oxford has been sticking to their guns, but Cambridge has been getting in on it and changing definitions to
Yep.
to appease this insanity, this pandemonium we have going on, and I can't forgive that. I cannot forgive that. It's one thing if you got a bunch of young people doing the shit they do, because they're young people. Nothing shocking there. But an elite school of academia that would bend to such a thing, that's is unacceptable.
Yep.
So and
Could
I
be.
shall not forgive Cambridge. I shan't. But
Well,
then again,
it's
we
only
won't.
going to get worse.
I know. Well, not necessarily. It might be in his death throes, to be honest with you. And we won't talk about my alma mater because Brown has lost his goddamn mind.
There's
So
a way to fix him.
it all comes. What goes around comes around, dude. I mean, it is what it is. But nevertheless, before I get into today's stuff, because it's all connected, Grimlock, I thought I'd take a couple of minutes and talk about the absolute insanity that's going on. Because, wow, dude, it's really, we talk about double down, triple down, quadruple down. This is, it's really harsh what's going on. I mean, we had a horrible incident at another elementary school
Yep.
again, right? And once again, just like every other time before, everyone around that person knew they were dangerous. Everybody around, including the police and often the FBI, were well warned and known about this individual. And no one did
Yep.
anything to try to kowtow it or disengage it. Nobody did. And here we
Nope.
have just another example of that. So that's a whole nother conversation. But then on top of that, we're seeing something that I see occasionally, but my goodness, how many people are going online with their public face saying how proud they are of this shooter, in essence.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's a step.
Um. Yeah, I saw a lot of Karens trying to justify this person's actions because you know um I know a lot of women don't want to hear this, but a lot of the white women causes a lot of this nonsense
Oh yeah,
because
it's definitely. Yeah. Malcolm X was right.
there used to be a time where men would just simply say no, and that would be the end of it. But
Well,
nope, you
well, we
started
are the
catering
measure.
to feelings.
Yeah, no, you're right, but we are the measure, and I think we need to take that power back because, I mean, if you look throughout history, all of our culture and our history is based upon women's opinion. Women mold culture. That's what they do. That's their thing. Men build it and protect it. And that's just the basic thing. Now, there's always going to be some outlier, and you can find any outlier you like to argue some stupid point. But the reality is, this is how humans work. And it's out of whack right now. Because it's fine that men usually do what women ask us to do, and that's fine. But every now and then we need to stand up and say, no, 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 that's enough of that. We are the measure, and we need to start doing that right now, where men are more needed than ever. And I think this attitude men usually have, where we're like, oh well, the women will work it out, and we just kind of let them go. Clearly, that's not working, right? Because they are
No.
bitching back and forth, but it's not changing anything. It's just getting more heated. And a lot of people say, no, no, men just need to stay out. Men can't fix it. Women have to fix it. We hear that a lot. And normally I would agree because that's how we work. But I think this is one of those moments in history that men have to stand up and start being, putting our foot down, which we usually don't do, right?
Yep.
But we need to. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations. And I think it needs to be done sooner than later because this insanity that's come out, I mean, literally, the transgender day of vengeance. Are you actually kidding me? We can go over statistics for days. No one is killing them. No one is attacking them. There's the only violence that is coming to the transgender community is from within. They are murdering themselves at a suicide rate of 47%. So there is this strange little genocide going on, but it has nothing to do with the rest of us, right?
Well, well, this is what happens, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. This is what happens when you deny reality in the name of not hurting people's feelings and allowing people to go on with delusion. And yes, this started with fucking women because
Of course it did. Yeah.
those terms you don't hear from men. You don't hear this living their best life and
No.
living your truth. I have yet to see anybody who says their truth and not just come out with a bunch of complete bullshit. No, there's the truth
Well, yeah, because
because
yeah, go ahead.
because humans naturally distort things in our favor. It's not done maliciously. It's just what we do.
Of course, it's survival instinct.
Whenever we tell our side of the story, we're going to make ourselves look a little bit more virtuous than we actually are.
Of course. Of
That's
course, that's
just what
true.
we do.
Yeah, of course.
That's why I tell people I don't care about your truth, just the truth, because there it's rare that there are people who are 100% virtuous in any situation.
No, I've hardly ever met
But
people like that. Yeah.
so the and most people naturally, like we said, not done maliciously, is not going to tell you the part where they was the asshole in the situation.
Right.
So
Yeah. But and that's all fair and good, but we've got to a point of that we need to something needs to be done. It's completely out of control. And Edwin, I agree with you more than you would know with the whole
well,
Moloch thing. And I've done a couple of TFTs dealing with the Saturnists and the Kabbalions and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't know how they've risen their head to such power in these days, or at least open power. But they have, and I'm one of those historical people that I study everything. I'm not afraid of anything, and I've looked into all kind of stuff. And one of the things I've studied way more deeply than I really should have wasted time on Grimlock was secret cults and their historical significance and their historical roots. I've studied this in depth, not just the standard ones like the Saturnist here, but wide spanning ones across many cultures, particularly cultures that most Westerners have no understanding of, like India or Southeast Asia, Asia, things like that, Africa. And I've looked into this very deeply, and I don't to the point that I don't need to look into it anymore, which tells you something, right? And in the end, no matter whether it's Kabbalists or Saturnists or even modern Satanists, which aren't really even a thing, or Buddhists or Hindus or whatever, they all have their little secret cults. And that you can be part of, and you can learn the various 32 steps or whatever it is. And they tend all to be very similar because humanity's culture is coming from a unified point, right? But in the end, you know what the secret ultimate magic is? You know what it's all about?
what is it?
Sex.
Hmm.
Yeah, not even
Yeah.
shitting you. And it's not the kind of sex that you think it is. It's very universal. But what they believe is this. And if we put it in an Indian way and talking about chakra, maybe it's a little easier to understand. I think everyone here has seen a chakra map that shows the seven chakra coming down into the pelvic area, right? Well, they
Mhm.
believe that the only way to charge your chakra, those energy points in your body, is through sexual tantric practices, or other cultures have different words for it. I'm just using the Indian one because everyone has that chakra chart in their head. I'm sure everyone has seen it, right? But the thing that they believe is it's very odd that the men who practice this, because it mainly is a male thing, oddly enough. Women, it's a different kind of approach. but they believe that a man needs to build up his sexual energy but not release it. So they
Hmm.
don't believe in ejaculation. And therefore, they want to constantly, and they feel as you get higher and higher in euphoria, they're building up their chakra higher and higher and higher, therefore getting to a higher state of being. Now, I know that sounds like science fiction because it kind of is, but this is the ultimate secret. It doesn't matter what group you're talking about. I use the Indian one because I know you all have that image, but they all follow the same tenets. They have their terminology might be different, but it's the same thing, over and over and over. It's all about the building up of sexual energies, and I think initially it's not necessarily a bad idea, right? I mean, the concept of it isn't necessarily weird, but I think what happened, as with everything, it got out of hand with certain groups, and they started thinking, "How do I improve it? How do I make it better?" And one of this, at least with the Saturnists or the Molochians, one of the ways they went to try to improve this amazing magic, this sex magic, was
Hmm.
with younger and younger people, thinking virginity brings more power to them. And then, of course, I don't know if you want to study this, but the Key of Solomon. That's all I'll say. The Key of
Hmm.
Solomon. Now, I know some of you who actually have studied history said, "What, a book?" Yeah, that's not how they use it. But they've really twisted things because they're looking for it's not working, right? They're not becoming immortal gods. So they're constantly looking for, well, I must be doing something wrong. We must need something more. So they add, and it becomes more and more degenerate, even though their ultimate goal is spirituality, right? So this is the problem, and we see it a lot of times where religion can get out of control, right? Because faith and
Yeah.
that's one thing a lot of people don't understand. Grimlock is faith and religion need to be separated. You need to separate it
Yeah.
because faith is an incredibly empowering thing. It can be dangerous too, I suppose, but
Yes.
blind faith, the God does not ask for blind faith, right? But I don't want to get into that. But I'm just saying that there is a difference, and religion is always kind of looking for a better way to get the populace on board, to have more control, to make more money, or to with the true believer to get to that thing that was promised, that is not coming to fruition, right? And this is
Yep.
what leads certain peoples into ultimate evil, right? Instead of just
Yep.
believing and having faith in something and taking that as an anchor and living your best life, as they like to say these days, they seek the immortality of of the divine, and that's this will lead you down dark paths. Did I put that
Well.
clear enough?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Anyway, that we're not
But
here to talk about that. Anyway, go ahead, Grimlin.
I was gonna say a lot of people don't want to hear this, but they're also seeking something they're never gonna get,
Yeah, I know. I know right well.
and,
Yeah, that's true.
and that's their obsession. And I tell you this, those out there, you being what you are is a, I'm not gonna say it's a bad or malicious thing, but you will never be seen as normal. And the faster you come to accept that, the happier your life will be.
Right. And another thing.
Because
Go ahead. No, go
because
ahead.
I don't understand why sexuality has become so important in being seen as normal when there are tons of abnormalities that most people come to accept as not normal and nobody loses their shit. You know, you're born with one hand. You're not a bad person because you're born with one hand, but nobody's going to lie to you and tell you you're normal either,
Right.
especially when you can clearly see that you're not.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But honesty is an abridged thing. But of course. But one of the only thing I would say about that before we move on to today's content is God does not promise you anything in this life.
Nope.
There's nothing promised you in this life. Matter of fact, it's asked of you to sacrifice and give in this life for greater gifts and rewards in the second life, the next life, right? And this is a thing a
Hmm.
lot of people misunderstand. They're constantly chasing, thinking they're going to get something here. You're not promised anything. Go show me any verse in any Bible that promises you anything. God does not offer you anything in this life. He doesn't. He asks for adherence. Now they are. Occult just means hidden. No, you're right, Edwin. That's true. And Dave's here. He finished shaving Grimlock. Anyway, he did. But that got serious. Uh-oh. Let me go ahead and bring it over to today's stuff, and let's have a little bit of fun with this. Well, if we can, with this insanity. So I guess you're the reader today.
And here I am without my AI voice.
It's okay. Can you see what I put up?
Yep. Oh God. What a headline. The CW's The Flash goes full groomer, pushes multiple objective lies, including hashtag trans is beautiful and protect trans kids.
Well, I just put this headline up.
Well,
I didn't even read it. I didn't even read the article. I just put the headline up because it kind of ties into the first part of today's conversation where we're talking about this tragedy in Tennessee and the absolute insanity that has ensued. It's one thing that you get some crazy person who went and did a bad thing. I mean, let's be honest, it's an asshole, right?
yes.
And we you know right well everyone around that person knew they were dangerous and did nothing to stop it or to intervene in any way. We know this because every time it comes out that way, every damn time. But that aside, of another asshole doing assholish things, the response to it is really what's crazy. And this headline itself, like I said, I didn't even read this article, right? Because I don't need to. I just used it as a reference point for what's going on. Now we saw what happened on January 6th in Washington. That is the end of the world and the worst thing to ever happen to America, according to certain Americans. And of course, it's ridiculous because we all knew that at the time that it was nothing, and it's been proven even more so that it was nothing since. Even though people have been in jail since that moment, right? Since that moment, people have been set in jail with no charges put against them. It's complete breach of constitutional rights. Complete. And what's this is going to end up eventually? These people's lives are being injured. FBI raiding people's home, busting down doors. In the end, all of these people are going to have righteous lawsuits, and the American government is going to have to pay out, well, probably billions, right? And in the
Yeah,
end, they don't give a shit because who pays for it? Who pays for it, Grimlock?
I do.
Yes, you do. You do, Grimlock. You pay for it, and everybody here, except for me, and then the foreigners, because I don't pay taxes anymore in the Americas anyway. But it's insane. And but then again, here we have the same exact thing happening in Tennessee. We had the same thing happen in Texas. We've had before other places in America the same thing happen as January 6th, just not with conservatives. I do believe Hawaii had its little incident or two. I know there were a couple when I was there, and that's 20 plus years ago, right? So it's
Yeah,
okay when they do it, but not okay when you do it. It's a
yeah.
clear,
That's
clear
been the message
statement.
for a while.
It has been. So you have that issue, but you also have this kind of nonsense. Trans is beautiful. Well, it could be. I mean, that's a subjective statement, right?
Very much.
But it's fine. I've certainly seen a few transgenders that were quite beautiful. Absolutely, hard to tell, right? I've seen a couple of them. Most of them, that's not true, but some of them, and maybe you find trans people attractive, so maybe they are beautiful. So that's a subjective statement. All right, fine. How about the next one?
Yeah.
Protect trans children. There is no such thing.
No.
That is a misnomer. There are no trans children. this is does not exist. Even a child who might have dissociated disorder, um, they it wouldn't apply in that way. It doesn't work that way. And of course, like to use that a lot these days. I think they even changed that term, but it's exceedingly rare. There are, well, I mentioned this before. Trinity College, over in the UK, they have a study that's been going on since what, 89? I think it was 90, 89, 90. And during that study, what they've done is they take brand new born babies, brand new, right? Just literally hours born. And because they operate out of hospitals and they ask the parents' permission, and all they do is kind of lay the baby on a nice comfortable spot, and above the baby, they wait till the eyes start focusing, right? And they have an image on the right, or left, I think they vary it, is an image of like a truck, like a Tonka truck, right? And the other image is a smiling motherly face, right? And they record where does the baby focus its attention, right? Now, 97% of the time, the child focuses its attention exactly where you think it would, break in a gender breakdown way, right? So the boys
Mhm.
tend to look toward the truck, and the girls tend to look toward the motherly figure. And
Mhm.
they found 97%. So why is that? Right? And they've been studying for 30 years, following these babies that look the other way, to try to understand what the difference is. And they found it. They actually found the cause of birth homosexuality, right?
Yeah.
That type. Because let's be fair, most homosexuals are created by the environment. They're not. They weren't born that way. There are some that are
Yeah.
like 3%, right? That are born that way. And you know what they found out? That what it was happening was the mother's hormones in those 3% that were looking the other way, and they followed them through the life, and they did. The majority of them were either homosexual leaning or full homosexual. So it definitely was affecting them in that way. The study is quite amazing, actually. But what they found was if the mother's hormone balance in her body is off, it will affect the child. So if you have a female child that's getting too much testosterone from the mother, or a male child that's getting too much estrogen from the mother because of her imbalance, this is what causes it. So they have found completely 100% understand how this happens with, actual from birth, causation of homosexuality. And in truth, it's just
Yeah.
another environmental thing, right? It's actually environmental. It's not chromosomal. It's not genetic, right? It is effect.
Mhm.
It's environmental effect. It's just the mother in vitro effect. So it is environmental as well. But they found that, and therefore, now that we are enforced with this knowledge, we can make sure that you never ever have a born homosexual again. We know
Hmm.
exactly what the cause is, and we know how to fix it. 100%. So what that means is this huge spike of homosexuality, whether it be transgender or not, is fully environmental, fully.
Yes.
Right? And that's interesting. But this whole thing, project trans kids, there is no such thing. There is no transgender child, because one
Yeah.
of the things about human development is, we have several points in our life where our brain goes through an important change. Right? One of the biggest
Hmm.
ones is around 12. And what happens is at that time, your brain finally develops the ability to understand time and your place in it, right? And it is at that thing where we can start seeing, what can I be in the future? What do I want beyond just the simple base carnal or environmental need, right? It's just simple survival instinct. Now we're starting to get into supposition, right? Around that age. And therefore, this is when thoughts of sexuality start coming into our head, which is perfect timing, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as a trans child. This 5-year old, 6-year old thing, it's not real. It's completely nonsense. scientifically. Yeah, no,
You're
Dave, it's a
correct.
good question.
You
Yeah.
you'll get no disagreement from me.
Yeah, yeah. But let's see here. I just there's been a few statements while I've been pontificating about future generations will be paying for it. You're right. Every age has its mystery societies. That's true, Edwin. Interesting. Transgenders 90% of the time are anti-Semitic or anti what? Anti
Aesthetic.
aesthetic, aesthetic. He's talking about religion. There is some segment of woke or urbanites, ascetic. Yeah, I mispronounced that. Sorry. Segment of woke urbanites who turn their children into science project for the approval of their. We've been seeing this for a long time too. That's nothing new either. Um, Dave says, "How does a newborn baby have reference enough to recognize truck, dude?" Good point. But you know what it is? The male brain is recognizing the mechanical nature of a thing because we tend to be far more, males tend to lean left brained and be more analytical. Therefore, a mechanical structure, they could have just used a block, I bet, but they decided to use a truck. So it doesn't know it's a truck. It's just seeing the mechanical nature of the thing, and the opposite, the smiling, warm human face. It is interesting, but they do recognize. This brings up other conversations, getting into genetic memory and things like that, which we won't go into here today because poor Grimlock.
It ain't gonna bother me.
Yeah. And Edwin says supporting transgenderism is the current mode of expressing progressive morality. Yeah, no, I know that, dude. I know that. But let's. How about we just start being honest? How about we promote honesty? Right. That would be a fresh shift, wouldn't it?
Honestly,
Honesty. Yeah.
are you mad, man?
I guess I must be because I mean, right here in this headline, and the reason why I put it up because of the stuff that's going on. Trans is beautiful. Maybe. Protect trans
Yeah,
kid, not true. There is no such thing. So we have this insanity, but it goes a little bit further than that, Grimlock. And I'd like to ask you a question, if I may.
go
Um,
ahead.
Yesterday was it? I think it was yesterday, maybe Saturday for me. But about once a year, I will go and I will buy my soap for the year. Right, my
Hmm.
personal body soap. Now I'm weird. I could buy stuff locally, but I just don't like it. You're gonna laugh at me,
Hmm.
but I like Irish Spring.
Um, I used to like Irish Spring, but I couldn't deal with that because of my skin. I
That's
was
yeah,
but
yeah. I like it
I
because of my skin because it doesn't leave it sticky or waxy. I like Irish Spring.
yeah.
But anyway, so I buy my Irish Spring annually, right? I get enough for the year. And fair enough. But at the same time, when I do that, because I have to buy, you can't get Irish Spring in Japan. I have to get it through a foreign market. At the same time, because I usually use a Japanese hub because it's a little bit cheaper. So I tend to use Rakuten. Amazon sometimes
Hmm.
has good prices too, but whatever. I usually use Rakuten, which is like an international merchandise and distribution group, right? But
Yeah.
when I get my soap, I usually buy a few other items too, because why not? Once a year, get some Funny Bones if I can, or get Lice cereal if I can get. If They don't always have the same thing on offer, but if I can get some like Jello pudding, chocolate Jello, I like chocolate pudding. Etc. I know I can
Good
make
time.
myself, but these are childhood addictions, I suppose. But I just once a year, will spend a little money. However, I went and I got it, and they didn't have many Western sweet things offers. One of the things they had was Twinkies, and I'm not a huge Twinkie fan, but I was like, maybe, because my wife asked me, would you like some Twinkies? I'm like, maybe, and then she told me the price. Would you like to guess how much a box, just a
How
single box, right? Not some special Costco thing, just a single box of Twinkies. Would you like to guess how much they were asking of me?
$15.
30.
Jesus.
$30 for a 2 pound bag, a kilo bag of M&Ms. $50. It was out
Why?
of control. Now I know I have shipping and other things like that that are adding to the price, but my God, what kind of inflation are you looking at over there?
Hmm.
No, seriously, I'm curious what you're paying at the store because over here in Japan, we've had about, it depends, but 3 to 5% inflation. I mean, it is what it is, right? Everyone's having to deal with it, but it's leaning lower than higher here. But are you guys looking at 150% inflation right now? What's going on, dude?
Well, I mean, eggs are sky high. Because we had all those, food plants go down that mysteriously, and nobody, wants to act like that. Everybody wants to pretend that didn't happen. Um, then on top of that, what is it? Um, I would say the price on every single thing that I normally bought year over year has doubled. Like, for example, Tombstone Pizza. That used to be something, you're hungry as fuck, but you're running low on cash.
Hmm.
You could grab a Tombstone, $2.50.
Wow, that is
It
cheap.
is it's five. It's five now.
Wow, Roger says,
Like
yeah. No, go ahead.
something like a DiGiorno will actually now it is now cheaper for me to just go to Domino's than to like buy like a pizza from the frozen section.
Wow,
That's
wow.
how high things have gotten. And you're better off if you can get to Costco or Sam's Club or something like that where you can get in bulk and maybe get a discount. You're better off that way because unfortunately they've made it so where you can't go to your local grocery store and get something at a reasonable price if you're on a budget.
Clearly not. I mean,
Yeah,
Roger said he's up $300-400 in groceries now. I'm assuming that's weekly, or
yeah.
monthly. I don't really. It must be weekly, because I spend
I can
about
I
six
can
hundred
walk
bucks a
out of
month.
the I can walk out of a store, spend $50, and have 3 bags if I'm lucky.
Yeah, it's I've been hearing little hints of this, and it's crazy. Edwin says it's 20 to 40% up over the past 2 years, from 2 years ago. Yeah, no, that's insane, and I think some things are higher. I know this is a foreign thing. I don't need it. I make better chocolate pudding scratch than Jello anyway. It's just it's a nostalgia thing, I guess. A Funny
Yep.
Bones or Whatchamacallits or Reese's Pieces. Oh, I love Reese's Pieces. But even though I can find, equivalents here that are probably healthier anyway, or most of the time I'm a Whole Foods guy anyhow. But it's not the point. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
need it. That wasn't the point. I didn't buy it because I ain't paying that. I did get a box of Life cereal, and that was $40. It was
God,
it was
lady.
it was the big double bag box though. But still,
Even still,
it's
dude.
insane. It's insane. I know. But I can't live without my annual Life cereal binge.
I
I
see.
like Life cereal. But yeah, no, it's insane, dude. The because I'm here in Japan, right? Japan is, many say today is the third largest economy. We know it's still the second. China is full of shit. But we'll see what happens with China.
China full of shit? No.
No, yeah. But nevertheless, the Japanese economy is super strong. But like I said, we're looking at 3 to 5% inflation depending on what you're talking about. Gasoline is hardly going up at
Yeah.
all. We've seen a little uptick in a few things, but it's the foreign stuff that's really gone through the roof. And then you have to add on top that the Japanese government is very anti-importation. They want you to buy Japanese products, so they put heavy tax on foreign goods anyway. Custom taxes are
Smart.
ridiculous here. Yeah, well, I get it. It's a homogenous society. I understand why they do that. At likes Reese's Pieces too. Did he, or was it M&M's? I don't remember. But I do love me some Reese's Pieces. I know that. I used to get the for a very short window. I was able to get the M&M chocolate version, their Reese's Pieces version. Wasn't as good, but it was okay. But I can't get M&Ms at all now, because that was one of my little indulgences. Every now and then I'd buy a bag of M&Ms, right? But
Yeah.
I can't even find them anymore because why would the
Yep.
Japanese? It's too damn expensive. They're not going to put those prices in front of their people. But it's just really weird because I live in a first world country, an extreme first world country. I literally have machines all around me who speak to me. They talk to me, Grimlock, and yet we haven't been hit by this hardly at all. Hardly at all. Isn't Japan switching to a digital yuan? I haven't heard anything about that. No. Matter of fact, the Japanese are quite the opposite of that, Roger. Most Japanese still use cash for everything. When I first came here, it was very difficult to use a credit. There was no credit cards anywhere. It was very rare. It was only like executives or businesses that had a credit card. Now it's become more ubiquitous. However, everyone still uses cash. It's just the society. So I would be surprised with that. Have they been pushing for PayPay and various things like that or I use ID myself, that you can use a credit card automatically at certain places? They have been, and it's becoming more popular with the young people, but still, this is a cash heavy society. Yeah. So I don't know. Do some folks in Japan food shop old school? Go to the market almost every day like our grandparents? Yep, they do. They still do. My wife does. Yeah, every day, and you can. I don't go very often, but occasionally I'll kind of trail in with my wife when she stops in the grocery store, and they still have all the little bachans, which are the little old ladies, walking around their apron fashion. Yeah. Yeah. But no, Japan is a market-based society. That's true. Yeah. But I kind of like it. It's quaint, you know. And yeah, it's quaint. I mean, when I was a kid, I got drug along with the parents to the shopping, right? And my parents would go shopping once a week, and they would literally bring, I don't know, it's like I can't even remember how many damn bags, brown paper bags they would fill into that the Gray Ghost. But oh my God, I kind of prefer the market based lifestyle, to be honest with you. But anyway, like I said, I didn't read this article. I'm not going to, but it's a good example of the nonsense going on. But more importantly, the narcissism. Who cares what you think? No one asked you, right? Now this is interesting. Coming from Sam here, I think Sam's talking to us, Grimlock.
Samuel L. Jackson reveals upcoming Disney Plus Secret Invasion series has a political aspect that kind of fits where we are now. Great, because that's what we want. More of that.
More of that, yeah.
Thank
And
you.
and in this thing,
No, no, I mean, I know it wasn't him personally who did that, but dude, come on, brother.
no, I got two articles in a row here from Sam. I think he's talking to us. I think he's complaining. I really do. I think he's complaining about what they're doing, because this is not a positive. This is a negative from him. And if you read the article, which I've read this one, and I saw the trailer, actually, it looked kind of cool. I like Sam Jackson as Nick Fury, actually. But in this, it's basically you can't trust anyone. No one trusts each other, which he said is kind of like the current climate, which is true. And it's basically about the Skrulls who were promised a homeland on Earth, and they've been betrayed. And Nick is trying to get what they were promised, but they're impatient and secret war. Okay, secret invasion. Now, that nonsense, stupidity aside, the fact that the Skrull were handled completely wrong-headed when it comes to Marvel movies.
One of
Um,
the most imperious. You want to do the whole colonizer aspect. You had the perfect group of freaking people to do it with
yeah,
in the scroll,
yeah, it's
but
true.
no.
Yeah. Well,
No.
especially because of all their head banging against the Kree, because the Kree are imperious as well, so are the Shi'ar.
Yep.
All of the big alien empires are quite imperious, which I'm sure was the intent of the writers, right? Um, uh, but
Yes.
but nevertheless, they've handled it completely wrong. But they're following it here, so that's the whole thing. These guys are demanding what was offered to them. So it's almost like refugees have a right to your shit is what's being promoted,
No.
and that's what I think Sam is pushing back against. Other than the crazy political chaos of today, it also seems this whole concept that refugees have rights that are superior to yours is kind of nonsense. Because he also, in the same interview, another article popped up here from Trent. I think they're both from Trent. Yeah. Because the same interview, he got into more stuff, and they obviously, well, they're obviously connected. Same interview, but he gets a little deeper. Go ahead.
Samuel L. Jackson suggests that Nick Fury will get the Jake Skywalker treatment in Disney's Secret Invasion series.
Now, now that's really
Okay.
interesting. Now MCU scrolls are South American immigrants. Edwin says, yes, they are. That's how they're being handled. Even though we know in the comic book they're not that way. They're quite the opposite of that. But he's saying that it's being pushed heavily this way, and they have rights to your land because of promises, I suppose. But he continues here. Now look at that. Samuel L. Jackson suggests that Nick Fury will get the Jake Skywalker treatment. Now, I'm assuming everyone here knows who Jake Skywalker is. It's Mark Hamill came out in the was it Last Jedi? Was that the movie? I think. And he said that he was very unhappy with how they treated Luke Skywalker in the movie, and he said this is not Luke Skywalker. He's the opposite of Luke Skywalker. He's Jake Skywalker. So it was Mark Hamill being angsty and complaining about Ryan Johnson's nonsense, right? And it stuck. Jake Skywalker is now a term. So Sam is telling us that Nick Fury is going to be Jake Skywalkered. So I don't know. You tell me. It sounds like Sam's not very happy about what they're doing with his character. You know?
Well, I mean, Sam, you just now noticed?
Yeah. Well, they haven't
They
messed with his character so
bastardized
much,
you in
really.
Captain Marvel, man.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Yeah, I didn't see that one. Yeah. Well, his eye was lost to a kitty cat, which is not cool.
Yeah, you know.
And you notice the scar has changed, by the way. It's three scratches now instead of what it used to be. They
Yep.
changed it for that movie. They changed.
Not
You
this,
go back and look.
not this badass war veteran who became the head of a shadow organization that is aware of all of these behind the scenes machinations by superpowered individuals and underground criminal organizations. Nah, just another black man in awe of a mediocre white woman and gets his eye clawed out by a cat. Yep,
Yeah, I know.
great.
Because keep in mind, Nick Fury, he didn't catch on like Batman did, but he's very much the Batman in the aspect that he knows everything that's going on. I mean, that's Batman's real power. Of course, he's got money and all those things
Yeah,
matter, but Batman's real power is he knows what's going on. He is informed 100%. This is the detective nature of Batman, and Nick Fury has that same aspect. He knows exactly what's going on at all times. He is informed. And it's he's not being he's being professional because he is a professional. He's not saying it so harshly and screaming about it, but he's not pleased. And that's unfortunate because I saw the trailer and I think I would enjoy isn't it time that Nick Fury got his own little film? Why did it take so long? Right? I mean, I kind of would like to have a Nick Fury thing, but it sounds like it's not something we want to watch. At least he doesn't think it is. So, and that's not good. That's not good. I mean, because if I'm going to trust whatever wokeite is making the film over Sam Jackson, I think I'm going to side with Sam Jackson. Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, and I think Sam is aware of it because I think Sam, you know, I think he's smart enough to know that these past few years have burnt a lot of goodwill with the fans.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's well aware.
And
He's an old man.
and even if he's not going to say it out loud, he knows what's burnt the bridges with these fans.
It's true.
And you can't wash everything away with more racism or they just hate seeing strong women because Sam is a what 40-year veteran in Hollywood. He's been in a bunch
Oh yeah, lots of good stuff.
of successful projects where diversity and women was not even brought up as an issue.
Yeah. Even though the title
Dude,
is
he was the lead of a movie where he kept a white girl locked in the basement and nobody flinched.
Black Snake
Nobody.
Moan. What a inappropriately titled movie. It gives you a completely different idea of what's happening because actually he's the good guy. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
It's actually one of his best acting forays, I would say. Black Snake Moan. Yeah, go check it out. I know it
yeah,
doesn't sound that sounds bad. I know it sounds bad, and they know it sounds bad. They did it intentionally, but it's the opposite of what you think it is. But
yeah.
yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, don't have to be like a refugee. Tom Petty, I believe. Roger says,
Yep.
to me, it seems like Skrulls are being turned into the 90s show called Alienation. Yeah, I agree. That's what they're trying to do, which in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just we know the premise behind it. We know why they're doing it, and that's the problem, right? Because you know we know that the MCU is not the same as Marvel Comics. We know that, and honestly, you need to accept that a movie needs to follow different premises. It's being done in a much shorter format. It can't be the same very easily, right? And that's okay. I have no problem with that. But we know the ideology behind what they're doing. This is what ruins it. And of course, for a true fan, but we want to see Skrulls. We want real Skrulls because they're scary and they're dangerous and they are really dangerous, right? Because the Kree, when we talk about aliens, the Kree will just come at you like old British Empire, right?
Yep.
But the Skrulls, man, those guys are insidious, right? So I understand that, but we all know right well they do not care about comic book fans whatsoever, and there's an argument to be made, Grimlock, that they shouldn't, right? Because they're trying to make something for a general audience. So I understand that, but this is unfortunate. Sam finally gets his own little series, dude, and they're ruining it. It's unfair. Now he did show up in the Agents of Shield once or twice, didn't he?
I don't know. I never watched it.
I watched a few seasons of it. Colston was the only thing there worth watching. The guy who played Colson.
Hmm.
I think Sam showed up once or twice, but I'm on board for a Nick Fury thing, dude. But not now. Oh well, Sam. Sorry. You had snakes on a plane though. You had that. Okay. Uh, but to continue on with this, subtle or not so subtle nonsense. Look at this. I was talking about it earlier.
Twitch streamer Uso Serious makes vile comments about Nashville shooting. I hope it was Republicans that lost their lives. Man, I mean, just look at that little miserable.
Yeah, soy
Um,
boy. But this is just once again I grabbed this headline. I do use Bounding into the Comics or Comics News a lot simply because their format is better for streaming, right? Not that their
yeah,
content is necessarily better than anything else. However, I just picked this headline. I didn't even read the article. I just picked it because it's it speaks of many things we see going on. That this is he's not the only one. There were many, 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 many that got on board. You had protesters in Tennessee and Texas and many other places. It sounds like around the country for the Transgender Day of Vengeance, and they were all going around with
which
their
is already being mocked and called January 6th.
perfect, yeah. But they're all walking around with seven fingers up because she died too. Good, but
Oh,
anyway,
good.
Go ahead.
Um,
Oh,
I'm
you
not
didn't.
surprised. It's mostly white. Well, look at his face. You could tell who was the ones who was in support of all of that.
Yeah.
It's the same people that allowed that nonsense to begin to
To come
occur
into
to begin
fruition.
with.
Yeah, no, the white people's fault. We are at fault. We need to police our own house. I mean, for years people have been saying that the black community in America needs to police its own house, and it does. It does.
Yes,
But
it does,
but the white people need to do it too.
yes, you
Clearly,
need to clean your room.
we need to clean our own damn room. That's true. And we do. It's true. This stuff is way out of control. But there's so many people who felt comfortable enough to put up this thing completely without any thought. It's like that boy that got trounced on here over the weekend. There was, some incident at a Starbucks, and this guy was vaping at the Starbucks and blowing smoke into a newborn baby's face. And the dad was like, "Hey, could you stop doing that?" Now, I don't know what tone he used, but I don't give a shit. I'm a smoker myself, and I'm not going to sit there and blow smoke in a baby's face. What the hell's wrong with you, dude? Right?
That's grounds for an ass whooping.
It is. But the dad asked him, and the guy's response was to take out a knife and stab him to death. Joy,
Yep.
a good job. But that's bad enough. That's a indicative of another issue. But this TikToker kid saw it, ran over, videotaped it, took a selfie with his fingers up, smiling. Hey, I mean that
That's the world we
meant,
live in.
yeah, but that is not right. That's not the world I live in. That shit doesn't happen anywhere near me. I
Well, you
you,
live in a more civilized society.
well, I'm just saying that would never be allowed to stand. That is outrageous behavior. Outrageous behavior. And he did it so automatically, right?
Yes.
There's no thought. There's no one has taught him anything about humility. And maybe that's one of the problems. Are we not teaching humility anymore?
No, because you can't whoop people's ass, and there is nothing that humbles especially an adult male, like an ass whooping.
That's true, and we used to police each other in that way, right? Smack your friend in the back of the head because
Yeah.
they're being an idiot.
You,
And
you,
talking about women, we were talking about earlier. The power of shame is one of the most
yes.
what is the most powerful social tool we have, and they've taken that away. So,
Yes.
and of course, religion also in America being mainly Protestant, but religion also
But,
teaches humility, right?
well, this is one of the
I'll be
downsides to
back in
the
a second.
internet, and all right. Conservatives typically don't do anything that puts the activist left under meaningful pressure. That is true. They don't. But hell, the conservatives don't do anything in their own damn party to put pressure on their own damn party to do something more meaningful. Because let's be honest, one of the reasons the conservatives are losing in this country is because all they do is fucking lip service. So, I mean, you can't expect leadership to put pressure on the opposition when they won't put pressure on themselves. So,
Sorry about that.
oh no, I was answering what Edwin had said about conservatives not doing anything
No,
to put meaningful pressure, but they don't put pressure on their own group, and part of it, and I was going to say, um, one of the things that I guess I could say is a downside about the internet, and I'm not saying this because I want to see it change. I actually do not want to see change. Is people being able to say whatever they want. I don't have a problem with people saying whatever they want, but most of these people, because of the civilized times we have been in my lifetime, and whether they want to hear this or not, it has been very, very fucking civil.
It
because
has been. It's too
the
silly.
kind of shit that these people talk about. And I'm just gonna say this also because this is a racial thing. This guy should be glad that he's white and he said that because black people will kill you over some shit you said on the internet.
Oh yeah,
And if
that's
you don't believe it, all you got to do is go
yeah,
scroll
no,
on World Star Hip Hop for about 15 minutes, and
yeah.
uh, you'll find about 15 to 20 videos of a Pookie or Paquisha whooping somebody's ass over a social media post.
No, that's true.
So,
They'll come in force,
and
and you know, I said earlier that the black community needs to get their house in order, and they do. They have a lot of real serious problems that have nothing to do with anyone but themselves. But that is
but I
true.
will say this: as fucked up as that is, I actually kind of like that. I know some people say that's encouraging bad behavior. Well, considering how much these white liberals love talking about consequence culture, it's not cancel culture, it's consequence culture. Well, here's a consequence. When you say reckless, incendiary things like this guy said, you're basically putting, back in the day, this would be the proverbial putting a bullseye on your back.
Oh, dude, he'd get his ass absolutely handed
You
to
would get
him.
your ass handed to you. And like I said, if he was black and he had said something about that, somebody black would have knocked on his door by now and said, "What, yo, nigga, what you mean by that?"
No, it's true.
But
And when I was young, I don't know, I haven't been in the States for decades, but when I was young, you know, the various communities tended to police themselves. So a white boy wouldn't
yeah,
go and necessarily police a black boy, but the black boys would, right?
yeah,
So you know, we used to have that, right? But clearly not, because I mean, how can you make that statement? And the simple fact of the matter is, 9-year-old children have no political leaning.
yes.
I
Well,
mean, it's
also
insane,
because
right? I mean, and those old
well,
teachers probably are liberal anyway because they're teachers and they're old.
also because look at the platform he's on. If he was on a more neutral platform, he wouldn't have gotten away with saying that. But Twitch
Yeah,
has been known to be heavily left leaning,
right. We know they are.
and
And of course a lot of
and they
people,
and
yeah, go ahead.
I mean they house Hassan Piker of all people, for fuck's sake.
Oh,
So
Hassan Piker. Yeah, he's an oh Jenks boy. And this we've been seeing a lot of this, a lot of threats of violence from transgenders. Now we know, and some people have argued with me on this, which I have no idea. I have the entirety of history behind me. But
yeah,
liberals make violence and war, not conservatives. By nature, a conservative conserves. It's, you know, and a lot of times they'll take out these other extreme groups, like they like to bring up the KKK all the time, which is ridiculous. The KKK has been dead my entire life. It's been dead, right? A much more dangerous hate group like them is something like Blue Star or something like that, right? Or the Latin Kings or things like that. These guys are dangerous racists, right? But in different ways, I guess. But you know, it's if you look at through history, it's never conservatives bringing the violence. It's always liberals. This is how they are. And these transgender, for years now, this is not a new thing. For years now, they wear imagery, violent imagery like this. For years,
yeah.
they are unhinged people. And why? Because they have a mental problem. And go ahead
I
and
mean,
ban me,
he's
YouTube. I don't care, dude. Because they are clearly,
celebrating
yeah.
celebrating people like Che Guevara. I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, and they do that. It gets me how many people will wear a Che Caveira shirt, and you clearly didn't study this man at all. He was a psychopathic serial killer rapist. That's what he was, and he was a good tool for old Jefe there, right? That's why he kept him around. And then when he was no longer useful because they had taken Cuba, he had his Russian buddies assassinate him because he's dangerous. But if you're trying to have a revolution, that psychopathic serial killer rapist is extremely handy, right? Castro, I'm talking about, El Jefe. But I mean, But the people wear his shirt. I see his image on business fronts. Even here in
Yeah.
Japan, I'm like, are you out of your damn mind? It's like wearing a
Yes.
Charles Manson shirt, dude, or a Paul Potts. I mean, are you out of your mind? Anyway, my water's boiling. I'll be back. Keep talking.
Figuratively and literally. Yeah, Roger, I agree. Kids are just kids, and they need to get back to that. I mean, I don't have kids. I have nieces and nephews, and just let them be fucking kids, man. Kids, kids are naturally inquisitive. They have questions about the world. That asking a question doesn't make you trans. These delusional freaking parents, these insane parents, and the whole trans day of vengeance thing is, I think, laughable because, for one, it's an insanely small community. What are you gonna? I mean, seriously, the vast majority of people don't even interact with trans people on a daily basis. So,
No, or even see them.
mhm.
Um, last time I've seen a transgender, well, were they transgender or just transvestite? I don't know. But I've seen one since I've been out of America twice in the past
Yeah,
30 years. And one, well, not more than twice. But when I ran security, I used to be the nighttime supervisor for Centurion Security in Hawaii, right? And I had to, my job was to drive around and make sure all the guards were doing their job and everything was kosher. And if there was any emergency, I went and dealt with it. It was my job. Right? I
yeah,
ran the bone shift, right? And you run into some interesting things during the bone shift, just so you know. So I have seen in Hawaii they have a thing they call the mahu, and the mahu is just well, it's a transgender, is what it is. And most of the ones I saw were prostitutes. Because I had
yeah.
some, they have a street there in downtown Honolulu that's where they do their prostitution, I guess. And I had some buildings there, had security in it. Centurion's a pretty big company. And so I've seen them before. I've even interacted them, and they were nice enough. But here in Asia, I've only seen one, and it was in Tokyo, and I was in Ginza, and I was walking, just taking a walk and enjoying the nightlife, right? And I saw this big old huge white dude. I think he had a wig on. It wasn't Halloween, so yeah. So it wasn't even a Japanese. I know they have them here. They call them new halves here. But nevertheless, these people clearly have a a mental problem. There's clearly an issue. The fact that 47% of them commit suicide should be enough. That should be the conversation right there. That number is insane, and they clearly need help, and no one's helping them. He says, I hope it was Republicans that lost their lives. One good thing about gun violence is occasionally, I'm assuming, occasionally wipes out full Republican families in one fell swoop. I would like to thank congressional Republicans and the NRA. So, sarcasm, I'm assuming. But he's got all the little tags. He's got his Ukrainian flag. He's got not an American flag. What is that flag? Is that I guess it is an American flag, a gay pride flag, and a blue check mark. So, he's made
Yeah,
his
he's a
statement.
verified idiot.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, horrible. I get that you're trying to be sarcastic. I'm sure you would use the word
I don't.
ironic because you don't know what that word means, but no one seems to these days. But yeah, you're a piece of shit. Yeah, yeah.
I don't think he's being sarcastic.
No, well, no, maybe not, because he continues. Good. Be hurt by this tweet, you worthless cucks. Well, do you know what this? And then once again, do you know what these words mean, Mister Uso? Because tweeting about it will make all the difference. You did. You're all pathetic. Okay. Me, I'm serene, living my life, not getting shot by angry people with assault weapons. Well, Hopefully that never happens to you. Republicans can't even protect their own kids in schools, so fucking pathetic. Well, once again, it's a Christian school, so I guess you're assuming they're all Republicans. But maybe today that's true. When I was young, there were plenty of Democrats in the church, though, right? So,
Well,
you know, you know, I, I,
the funny thing is, I still laugh at them when they talk about assault weapons, as though you can define what an assault weapon is.
oh, they love that word, because it's a non-word. There is no such thing as an assault weapon. Well, no, there is. Everything. If I pick up a pen and I stab you in the ear like John Wick because I'm trying to be cool, I have used an assault weapon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can verify. I have actually stabbed a couple of people with pens.
Hmm. Hmm.
They didn't find it pleasant.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have jabbed a bunch of people with the compass point, because that was a stupid game boys played in the '80s. Uh, did you? Because we used to hang around and I I have done drugs, and we'd smoke pot, right? And we'd have a pipe, and we just pass it around, or a joint. But a lot of times we where I came from, we used pipe more. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But passing the pipe around, if you're not paying attention, someone will zing you in the balls with a lighter.
Oof.
Yeah, we played that game. Boys.
Yeah.
This is where boys will be boys apply. The other applications we have these days are untoward. But nevertheless, this guy's a real piece of work. Let's see. There are some sick people on this platform. I agree, Philip. Nah, not sick for exclaiming that I don't want Dems to die anymore because Nazi Republican policies. What are you talking about, dude? These are these are just as much Democrat. These people don't study anything. I saw my rage and indifference fit opposite if the not MAGA Nazis. Once again, when has MAGA ever been that? I you know the I strongly believe, Grimlock, you need to have a license to vote. I know that's un-American,
Need to have some.
undemocratic, but god damn it, dude. This guy isn't completely uninformed, but look at the hate and trouble he's causing because of his ignorance. Um, yeah.
I would. I wouldn't be surprised if he's under the age of 25. Because one thing I've definitely noticed about Twitter, I now understand as I've gotten to be a middle aged. I understand why when I was younger, why older people hated hearing younger people talk. I understand it now because you have a fuck ton of young people, and Twitter is a perfect example of where you could see this on a daily basis
Hmm.
of young people who have done nothing, they know nothing,
Oh
and they
no.
speak nothing. They speak this retarded nothingness as though they have said something witty and insightful and thought provoking with all the confidence in the world that they have done so.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
and they
it's like
haven't.
you
Yeah.
don't know piss from frosted flakes.
No.
Shut the fuck up.
No. And I was probably the same way when I was a kid as you were. It's
Yeah,
okay.
but now
You know.
I understand why they do it because I'm getting to more of the be seen and not heard crowd than I've ever been in my life
Yeah,
because
no, you're just getting older and starting to become an adult and realize that, yeah, no.
becoming a
Uh,
curmudgeon.
yeah, well,
I'm liking
no,
it.
but that's what happens because you start becoming aware, and which is another reason why I think you should have to be 30 to be able to vote, and you should have a license. I really think this is correct. Anyway, this idiot goes on, but it doesn't matter about this particular idiot because all that's really going on is it's symbolizing thousands of other tweets. Now, if this dude and one other dude or another girl or something like that, fine. But it's not. It's a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon because they feel comfortable enough to mock the death of 9-year olds, and these older teachers too, just because they were at a Christian school. First of all, being at a Christian school does not automatically mean you are Christian, Matter of
Yeah.
fact, in a lot of places, there's a high chance that you're not. It's simply a private school that gives better education, and people are willing to pay for that because it's not as expensive as, say, the real private schools. Those things are a really high end cost, right? But a Christian school is private and it's a little bit more middle ground, and their education tends to be better than the public school. So, if you went and did an actual true poll, you would probably find out that a very high percentage of those people are not Christian at all. And I imagine the
Yeah.
teachers aren't so, I doubt they're screaming liberals, but I doubt they're all 100% staunch Republicans. But more importantly, the 3 9-year-old kids certainly weren't political because they're not even aware of what it is. And this is a current ongoing problem we've had for a while. Children don't understand these concepts. They don't. Their brain is
Yeah.
not developed enough yet. A child's main focus is on self preservation, self desire, and pleasing the authority because it gets them what they want and keeps them out of trouble. This is the extent of their logic and analytical ability. They don't have a personal perception yet. This comes later. I know some idiots will give some example of the genius born kid, the savant, or the young bloomer, or whatever like that. But fuck off. That's not the
Yeah.
point, right? And so totally unbalanced and out of control. And he knows that. He knows that. He's being an edge lord and he's trying to piss people off because he thinks it's funny because he has no sense of morality. Just like that kid that saw the person get murdered, instead of trying to help, ran up and did a little TikTok video for it, smiling to the camera because look at the dead person, look what I found. They have no sense of morality. We have lost
Well, I will.
this, and it's
I
hugely
with that
troublesome.
with that kid, I just got a question. How many times has he possibly seen that to be that desensitized to it?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean,
Because that's not something you see every day.
no, and I have seen actual death, and it's never
Yeah.
pleasant.
I mean,
Never.
because I saw that video and it's like, wow,
Hmm.
like nobody did nothing.
No, and we see this all the time. No one does anything. We have a girl get raped on a New York train, and no one did anything. We see people getting beat in public. No one does anything. We see things constantly happen, and no one does anything. Even something more mundane, like the video of the girl who was lifting the weight and got herself in a position, needed some help. No one helped her because she's going
Well,
to yell at him. She's going to scream. It's dangerous. It's you have totally taken away the chivalry of men. And how long do you think, ladies and gentlemen, that it took women to build that up in men? Because understand, chivalry comes and goes based on women's desire. 100%. 100%. Women, how long did it take them to civilize men into that state? And then you wiped it out in less than a generation? Oh,
well,
my boy.
that was one of Dave Chappelle's best bit. Um, Chivalry is dead and women killed it.
Oh, they did. They absolutely did. Women are 100% responsible for what's going on. The problem is, as usual throughout history, when a mess is made, who cleans it up? Who cleans it up, Grimlock?
Men.
Men. We're always the one that needs to clean the shit up. In the end, no matter how much nonsense a woman screams and yells about her rights and her vagina, it's us that have to clean the shit up. Always. Every damn time. It's irritating. And it's more irritating to me because I'm actually a historian. And I've seen this
Hmm.
happen many, many, many times through my various readings. But anyway, let's move on from this absolute, I don't know what to call him. Well, what's the proper word for this? He's ignorant. He's malicious. He's vile.
I don't,
He,
I don't think he's being. I don't think he's trying to be edgy. I just think he's a bitch. Because if if that school had a bunch of pride parades and even though they're not a thing. If they said it was a bunch of trans kids murdered, he'd be up there bitching and moaning about how it's. all violence like that has got to stop and all of this shit.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah,
you
but
know,
it's all irrelevant though, because this asshole, and that's what this is. This is an asshole playing Rambo. If you watch this video,
yeah,
this is an asshole playing Rambo, murdered people. You know, the fact that it kids adds another level of abhorrence upon it. But, you know, it doesn't matter. This jackass, acting like Rambo, murdered a bunch of people for no other reason than they wanted to die. This is suicide by cop, is what this is, via dead people. Yeah. They don't even have enough courage to just knock themselves off. I mean, if you want to die, do it yourself. Show a little bit of courage once in your life, right? But no, go cause a trouble so the cops will kill you. Because if you read the various tweets and things, this girl said she wanted to die. This was suicide by cop, is what it was. And I have a feeling that happens more than we realize, right?
yeah,
And instead of just going into a police station and start shooting, and then getting the cops to take you down, which would have been would at least more directed, they go where it's easy, innocent. Go have your Rambo fantasy before you get taken out. I mean, that's what this is, and it's insane. It is insane. Anyway, continuing. I thought this was interesting.
Brandon Sanderson gives the classiest response to the Wired hit piece about him and his readers. I heard something about this.
Yeah, this is from John.
Uh,
John De La Rose, of course, a good author and a comic book writer. He's been in the show. It's been a while, but I like John. And this we remember hearing about Brandon here, and he had this mega Kickstarter, right? Just ridiculously mega Kickstarter, made shitload of money, putting his books out, his Mistborn series, and his other things. He's got a whole bunch of books here. He's got his secret project he had in that. It was just a mammothly successful Kickstarter, and good for him, right? For a writer, I don't know anything about him, but he's a big fan of
yeah,
Terry Pratchett, and I'm on board for that. However, some leftist person came in and interviewed him and did a really hardcore hit piece on him for some reason, because this guy hasn't said or done anything. He's just a writer. But his response was great. And I'm not going to read it to you. I suggest you go read John's article. It's well written. John's a writer himself. But he this is how you deal with that. He didn't blame the person. He didn't yell at the person. He said he understands. He's a fellow writer. He's the guy's writes for news, I guess. It was very polite and proper. It's kind of how you should professionally respond to stuff. So it's a good thing. But the one of the big things this person was writing about him. Who is the person that wrote it? Let me see if I can find this. I don't know if they mentioned they probably do, but anyway, whoever the person who wrote the article, saying that he is lame and boring. And one of the, Brandon here is clever. He's a writer, so not shocking.
you,
But
you know, not to cut you off, but I always find it funny when you have somebody like Brandon Sanderson where they're successful, they're good at, they're really good at what they do,
mhm.
but they're not like, they don't have like, they're not train wrecks. And
No, he's just a normal
instead
dude.
of appreciating that he's not a train wreck, oh, he's boring and lame.
Yeah, but he
Well,
equated he
tough
equated that.
titty.
Well, no, but he equated that to how back when because he's clearly my age, when he was younger, nerd, people picking on you for
Yeah,
liking a certain thing is not that's considered not cool. He equated that, and it was very clever response, to be honest with you. So. But it's not much. I just thought I'd suggest you might have a fun read. This is on Bounding into Comics. It's an article by John De La Rose about Brandon Sanderson. So, I just thought you might enjoy reading it.
I just find that weird.
Well, so do I. But if you haven't noticed, our culture is all about hate now. Everything's about hating
Yeah,
the other thing, and we're guilty of it a little bit here too. I try to be conscious of it because we're all caught up in this culture war, and it is a culture war. without question, and the culture war has gotten hot. It's gone hot, right? And the whole thing, and of course, it's worse than that because a lot of times these culture wars, and we all know this, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir. But a lot of time when these things come up and they're being promoted by government, as is in this situation, it's to distract you from other things that are going on, right? The actions in Ukraine, which have nothing to do with Russia whatsoever. Understand that. They might talk on the news about Russia, bad, Putin, bad, oh, worst Nazi ever, whatever, which is ironic. That's actual irony, by the way. But oh, yeah, yada yada yada. It has nothing to do with Russia. This has nothing to do with Russia. This is about economics. This is about Europe and the euro. We're getting too strong, and the American dollar and the petrodollar are under threat, and they're trying to squash the Europeans and knock them down to keep the hegemony of America alive. That's all it has to do with. Russia is just a vehicle, an opportunity, right? And a lot of this nonsense is to distract from that. It's to distract from their policies to try to get rid of various Bill of Rights that you have. It's all
Yep.
distraction. And a lot of money is being pumped out by these big banking groups to make it happen. Why do you think all these businesses are on board? You think they're just a bunch of idiots in charge, like, oh, gays are great now. Let's advertise. I just saw Bud Light had that Dylan Mulvaney kid as their new mascot for Bud Light. Doing, I couldn't even watch 3 seconds of it. It was so creepy. No gay thing aside.
I did.
Who cares what gay is? That was creepy as shit. It's like, and do you think Bud Light's that stupid? No, they're not. They're doing what they're told to do.
Yeah, they are, but at the same time, it's like who in the hell thought that Dylan Mulvaney would fucking be? Do you not realize who the majority of people who drink Bud Light are?
Well, it's the cheap
It's
beer. I remember when I
white.
was a kid. It's the cheap beer. Yeah,
Yes, it's white. It's white people in the South
sure.
who are not exactly fans of would not exactly be fans of Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, no, no. But I mean,
It's
they're just,
it's a
yeah.
redneck beer.
Yeah, no, that would have been better if you had who is that guy that you're a redneck if
Jeff Foxworthy.
yeah, just Foxworthy. Yeah, that would be a better mascot for Bud Light. That's true. But he's a little bit more refined. He probably does Budweiser. But nevertheless, it's just insanity. And I can't suggest you go watch that video because I couldn't get 3 seconds, dude. It's so creepy.
Nah,
It's creepy.
I've seen enough of Dylan Mulvaney to last a lifetime. They're
Yeah, it's
again. I know some people are gonna say it's hate. No, that
no, 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 no,
Dylan's
no,
got some issues that need to be
no,
worked
no, no,
out.
no,
Dylan
no.
needs to go see
He does,
see a
but
therapist.
that video has nothing to do with gayness. It's not about that. It's about creepy as shit, dude. I mean, my God, it was creepy. Yes, Alan, that is good. Irony is when a clown dies from laughter. Very nice. Alanis
Yes.
Morissette knows nothing. You tell her, Alan. You get her. I met with Putin, seeing as the Soviets were very anti-Nazi, a little bit. Putin is one of the last Soviets, is he not? Nevertheless, read this article. It's well written, and and old Brandon here. I'm a fan. I become a fan. He was brought in to continue writing for I forget offhand who it was, but a famous person, and he's making his life, man. You go and you be boring and lame, sir. I love it. Okay, let's continue though. This one, boy. Mm.
Marvel star Jonathan Major released text messages related to alleged domestic disputes. Pose victim appears to declare they did not have my blessing on any charges placed.
Now,
Okay.
you and I might have a little bit different perspective than some of the other people here. You have grown up within black community at least somewhat, right? I did too. I grew up around black people my whole life. I know black culture really well, at least the old black culture really, really well, because I was in it. I was part of it, right? And you and I have a certain understanding of how black men and black women interact, right? And I don't know. We'll have to see how this. Being male, he's wrong no matter what he does. But it kind of sounds like she was losing her shit, and he was calling the police to deal with her, and that's when the violence ensued. And you and I both have seen this happen before, I am sure. I know I have seen it many times. I don't know if you have, but I certainly have. So here's the thing: is this guy actually guilty of anything other than being male? I mean, honestly, because it sounds like she was out of control and she's apologizing to him for all this nonsense. She is, and I love you, and trying to apologize, which I've seen many times as well. Because this is something that people don't understand about domestic abuse. It's not predominantly male. It's not. It's actually more 50-50. And honestly, it leans more female to male than male to female. I know this must be shocking to certain people, but it's not. Particularly in certain communities. Like I said, I grew up around black people, and black women are violent, dude. They are violent. We know these transgenders are violent. We know liberals, extreme, woke tards are violent. But the simple fact of the matter is, black women are violent, dude. And they snap in an instant, and the men around them have to just take it. I've seen it 100 times, dude. And I'm kind of wondering if this guy isn't being railroaded in the press. I don't know. I don't know. But that's my experience. What about you?
It's hard to tell because, like you said, the press immediately jumps on this because they love shit like this. They love, unfortunately, any kind of drama where they can exploit somebody's misery or, hell, exploit somebody just having a really bad day.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's hard. Like I said, I'm at a point where people should wait to see what evidence there is. I mean, yeah, he put out some text, but that's fine. But as I
Well,
said
we have to wait
before,
and see. Yeah, that's true.
people, inherently will make themselves appear more sympathetic. Yeah, you're going to put out text messages, but what if she puts out some text messages that
Well,
makes you
he's
look bad?
showing her text messages is what he's doing. He's showing the
Yeah,
message she sent to him. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But like I said, I'm assuming. But maybe you don't have those experiences. But I've been around the world and I've met a lot of people, and there are three
yeah,
groups that are violent when it comes to women. And I'm not talking about political because that can be any color. But black
yeah,
women, Russian women, and Latino women can go violent really quick,
yeah.
right?
I,
So,
I, I would not disagree with that. I saw that in freaking high school. Those fucking them girls.
dude, dude,
The,
and these days it seems to be worse than when I was young, right? So I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if what he's saying happened is exactly what happened. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah,
But his
I,
career's gone done. He's burned. He's burned. He's not
I
gay.
that's
He doesn't have any of that protection.
that's the part I don't like because you know we've allowed the kangaroo court of public opinion
Mm,
overtake the actual court we're supposed to have in this country. And I know some people say you're only saying that because he's a guy. I make it 100% clear. If it was a woman in that position, I want her to have the same opportunity to
sure.
prove that it's innocent. Just because somebody look, you could be accused of anything. It doesn't mean shit. But
Yeah, no, it's true. But I
you
mean, like,
shouldn't. I mean, the fact that everybody's already like just in a week, this dude's career looks like it's already it's they're
Melted.
building the
Yeah.
tombstone for it as we
Yeah,
speak.
melted. And I
And
don't know anything about this guy whatsoever. I have no animosity or anything toward him whatsoever. I don't know him.
yeah,
But I remember when Amber Heard came out about Johnny Depp and accused him of,
yeah,
domestic abuse. Your initial reaction was, "Ooh, Johnny," but then your brain starts thinking for a half second, and it's like, "You mean that absolute hippie Johnny Depp abused someone? Huh?" The dude
yeah,
drugged out his head more often than not. I mean, that guy? It did seem weird. But however, Amber got the benefit of the doubt because she's a woman. And we give them
yeah,
benefit of doubt in that situation because of our mindset. Not understanding domestic abuse is far more 50-50 than you realize. Of course, that turned out to be a complete and utter lie. Johnny is exactly the hippie we think he is, because he is, right?
yep.
But this dude, I don't know. Latinas confuse each other's painted eyebrows for being angry. This is true. Uh, Ellen says, Chester was the white bleeding gums Murphy. No, I just grew up around the blacks because I moved around a lot and I ended up in black neighborhoods a lot. And just how it was. I had white friends and Latino friends and Asian friends too. I spent a lot of my time around blacks. I don't know why. It just is what it is. You know,
Yeah,
that's probably why
but
I've had
it's
many people on here say I sound like a black man. It's simply because
but
I grew up in that community, probably. I don't know.
it's like I said, I would rather them just shelve everything
Oh
and
yeah,
at least let the due diligence, whatever the due diligence is, because they said what they got video from the taxi or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Collect the
Got
evidence, do
yeah.
all of that, and because it's just ridiculous.
Well, one
Because
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it, to me, it's just where you're at is just like a simple allegation. Because right now, it's like you said, his career, just from the outside looking in, looks done just on an
Yeah,
allegation.
done
And I
deal.
saw some of the stuff on Twitter where people were piling, and I heard people implying that, oh, he's had bad behavior for years. Oh, okay,
Maybe he
maybe
has.
that's the case.
Maybe.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
one
we
thing
have to wait and see.
I noticed,
Yeah.
well,
Well, well, the
if
thing
that if
is,
that's true, one thing I can't stand about like the entertainment industry is like how many people claim to know these things
right?
but seem to have no problem with it.
Vet
And
your employees, please.
and then and then all of a sudden they want to pretend like as soon as it becomes convenient, like, oh yeah, we know this person was a piece of shit for years
Yeah, it's always that way. It's
and you
always
was
that way.
fine with it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with him. But one thing I can say that is slightly positive, we see a lot of political indictments, and we just have a big one here with Trump,
Yeah,
right? But in the end, the courts tend to lean on the side of the law. We've been seeing this happen over and over and over. For instance, this New York DA, ultra woke political hire, is indicting Trump for political reasons. We all know this, and
yeah.
everybody and their brother, who's an actual legal expert, is saying this is never going to go anywhere, and it won't, because it has nothing to do with actually having Trump. In jail or found guilty because they know they can. It's just about smearing him, right? And of course it's going to have the opposite effect. Well,
Well,
it's going to entrench the sides more, I would say.
another thing uh, that really, well, I can't say it's not one thing a person can do. It needs to be done by something as far as legislation needs to be done. There's too often, because this is not new. I'm sure you know this too. DAs have used high profile cases or high profile people to advance their political
Oh yeah,
careers with what this
forever.
guy is doing. For as fucked up as New York is right now, and of course they went and got a black guy to do this because, of course, when white liberals need something done, they go get their pet Negroes.
That's right.
Uh,
They should have listened
and
to
I
Malcolm.
know some people will be offended by hearing this, but let's be honest.
No, they do that all the
Uh,
time. Yeah.
black Democrats are better trained dogs than any breed a
Yep.
white person can buy right now,
Oh no,
and it's really fucking disgusting.
and all the racism we see are coming out of liberals, white liberals. It's the racism of low expectations. We all know this,
It ain't even low
and
expectations.
it's no
Shit,
expectations. You're right.
low
But
expectations would be a fucking step up from where they're at right now.
my entire life, the people that throw out the word Uncle Tom are always them,
Yeah,
and it's because they are projecting their own guilt because they are the Uncle Tom.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's amazing, Uncle Tom's Cabin, the effect it's had in modern world. Such an old book, but anyway, um, mm, goodness gracious. Let's
yeah,
unless
this
you got
guy's
something else,
it's a mess. It's a mess, and it only further complicates Marvel's mess. Because
it does.
if this was the guy you was pinning your face to,
Well,
which we was already for the most part saying he shouldn't have been,
Well, they're bombing
and it,
anyway. Ant-Man and the Wasp bombed horribly. Shazam, what sounds like it's okay movie, bombed horribly. Everything they're doing is
yes,
bombing horribly, and it has nothing to do with fatigue. It has everything to do with your
no,
frickin' wokeness. Because John Wick came out this weekend, and that's a number 4 in their franchise. And talk about fatigue,
well,
and it
it,
absolutely crushed it.
well, it's not just that; it's the stupid game plan that they've done too. Because
Yeah,
um, if you tell somebody that this does not matter, but then you expect them to invest in it,
right,
how stupid are you?
right,
One of the major reasons Phase 4 failed, and it wasn't, and yes, the wokeness was a big part of it, but okay, you put out a Black Widow movie when everybody knows she's dead.
right.
Who gives a fuck
No
at
one
this point?
cares. And then, of
You
course, they
put
put
out,
their wokeness in it too, right?
yeah, then you put out, and you go on the DC side. You put out the Shazam movie, and from everything I've heard, I haven't heard. I've heard more positivity about this movie than negatives. So, by all indications, this is not a bad movie.
Right.
But unfortunately, just 3 months before you fucking put the movie out, you had James Gunn come out and
Cancel it.
basically say this fucking movie doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah, because it
It
doesn't.
doesn't fucking matter. So why? So why? If I'm an average moviegoer, and earlier in the stream we talked about the price of everything going up, and it has.
It has
And if you're
extremely for you.
somebody, and just think about it, like I've mentioned before, based on where I live, it's a 40-mile trip to go see a movie. So you're gonna go to the movies. What are you gonna do? You're gonna spend money on a movie that means nothing, that's gonna go nowhere. It leads to nothing.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Or are you gonna take that money and go see John Wick or Mario Brothers, which comes out next? Well, actually comes out in what, 4 days,
Yeah,
4 or 5 days?
and they're banging against
So
that so
where are you
hard.
spending
So,
your money?
and that's going to
It
fail too because it's being banged about from every side. That movie. But yeah, no, you're right. And we've had some big hits. But Marvel is
Yeah,
not amongst them.
no.
Unfortunately. So I don't know that this guy had
It,
much of a career there anyway, but hopefully we'll see.
well,
We'll see.
he was seen as an up and coming actor.
Yeah,
He was in the Creed 3 movie, and I heard a lot of good things about that. But I mean,
yeah,
fine.
yeah. That
So
movie did well
they
too.
was
Yeah,
people were seeing him as a rising star, and quite frankly, Hollywood does need some new blood. It's been talked about,
yeah, yeah. I agree.
but
And
you also can't have new blood where the moment, and again, if he did what he's accused of, nail his ass to the wall.
yeah, no, absolutely.
I, I'm I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm
Absolutely.
not attached to this dude being Kang the Conqueror,
No,
where it's like,
no,
oh no, yeah, he beat a bitch, but he's Kang, yo.
no
No,
violence. No violence. I agree. Now I know he looks like he's 60. He looks like Denzel Washington's brother. I understand that. But and Marvel dresses him horribly. However, this guy is absolutely jacked. He is in
yeah,
incredible shape. Incredible shape. He's just got that real fat, puffy face, right?
yeah.
He's just, unfortunately.
He looks like
Uh,
he's been 40 for 20 years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's only 32. He's only 32. I know.
I know that.
Uh,
Nice.
uh, yeah. But Marvel doesn't know how to dress him. This dude is absolute jacked. You go see Creed. He's banging, dude. But anyway. Speaking of that, I mentioned that this weekend my wife and I watched an old movie I'd never seen before. And that was George C. Scott's The Changeling. I'd never watched it. It's a good movie, good solid old fashioned ghost story with a little bit of detectiveness thrown in. It's neat. But one thing since we're talking about age and visibility, I thought it was interesting. I was like, because George looks so old. He just looks so old, late 60s or something like that, early
Yeah.
70s. And they had his wife, which she was only in the movie for a few seconds, but his wife was so much younger, right? And he had a kid. It was kind of weird. So I went and checked how old was George C. Scott when he made that film. He was the same age as me,
Yeah.
and he looks 20, 30 years older than me in that movie. I'm like, whoa, dude. Some people don't age well. Old
Yep.
Jonathan Majors here does not age well. But anyway, oh well, it is what it is. And we'll see what happens with it. But the thing is, if he is innocent, he won't be exonerated. It doesn't
What you
matter.
said.
Look what happened to Johnny, right? Go ahead.
Yeah. DC cancels Batgirls and Robin book that ran with gay bisexual Tim Drake.
Now, I don't care about this
Womp
particular
womp
book.
womp.
Right. I don't care about this particular book, but I brought this up simply because there are a lot of things being canceled inside comic books. Captain Marvel's comic, once again, has been canceled. How many times has that been now? Is it
I
eight?
believe the count is now six
Six.
since
Okay.
2012.
Yeah, since 20. So that is eight then. So it is eight
Yeah.
overall. So it's been six in this trying to make her the new face of Marvel Comics. But there's many books that are being canceled. Many books because no one buys them. Now we know comic books are
No.
on their knees in the West. Manga is just eating everything up. Unfortunately, Europeans didn't take the opportunity because their comic book industry is doing well over there. Actually, they do make money in Europe. They're a very different style of comic book, and Japanese are too. But the Japanese somehow were able to take advantage of the situation, and they're selling more than they ever have. And comic books are on their knees. We know this. But my goodness, DC and Marvel are canceling tons of these woke books. And then the question is, Grimlock, okay, you're canceling all these woke books. What do you think they're going to replace them with?
More woke books.
More woke books,
That's
because that's what they've been
well.
doing.
Well, also, I know people are saying that they're canceling books left and right, but the problem is this is they still have like a bloat.
Yeah.
Like for example, you want in January alone, how many books do you think Marvel put out?
Well, usually they put out around 90,
They put out 71.
so they are down.
That, that's a but still that is an insane amount of books.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Yeah, it's too
And
much. Yeah.
there's not there's just not a lot of books that nowadays you could say I got to get on Wednesday. We haven't been to. I know you guys have. I remember you guys was doing this once a week where you was previewing the upcoming books, and now it's like nobody.
No one
Nobody's doing
cares,
that because
and
most people don't care.
this is the reason why I brought this up to make this point, because Batman they're doing tons of gay stuff with many of the characters. Spider-Man they're gaying everybody up. This was cool when it first started, but Saga is full gay on comic now. It's like hardcore. I don't know what they're doing with
Yeah.
Venom, Wolverine. They're trying to gay him out. This is a gay comic right here, Poison Ivy. It's all about lesbianism. Exciting. Uh, uh, more
Th-
Spider-Man
that's
nonsense. I don't know what they're doing with
that's
Ghost
because,
Rider.
Ghost Rider actually has a decent story going.
That's cool.
I hope it continues there because I like what Ben Percy has done. Him and Corey Smith, the artist on that book, where
Yeah, we talked about that before. Yeah,
it, it, but Poison Ivy is a perfect example of everything that's wrong in the comic industry right now. Because for one, the people who are writing her came from social media, the Tumblr nuts, who saw one aspect of Poison Ivy and Batman the Animated Series and decided that should be her from now on. Her
complete.
relationship with Harley.
Right,
And
completely misunderstanding the.
Harley yeah, and Harley and Ivy's relationship was friendly. It was, you could say, like Thelma and Louise if you want to go that route. But that was it.
Yeah, and Poison Ivy
But
hates humans. That's kind of an important
well,
point.
not just that, but she's always been a selfish individual.
Yeah,
Any version of her, whether even if you go back to the Golden Age version, when she was obsessed with making Batman like her love slave, Pamela Isley has always been an insanely selfish human being. That is one of the main aspects of her being a villain, is
right,
that she is whatever her interest is, she's insanely selfish about it. She does
right.
not care about what happens to the world around her so long as she gets what she wants. Even when they changed her to be this eco terrorist, Pamela didn't care if she killed 40,000 people if she saved 10 rose bushes,
Yes, no, that's
because
her
in
thing.
her mind that made sense.
Right. She's a villain. She's evil. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
But they don't get that. But continue on.
Yeah.
We have weirdness going on. X Men, of course. Jonathan
Oh
Kent
god.
is a full on LBG, whatever the hell it's up to. Banner. I don't even know what they're doing. Captain America. Um,
You know what's the ironic thing about the turning these characters gay, besides the fact that it's completely unnecessary,
well, everybody's gay
is,
or female now. So
well, it's not just that. It's you're turning a superhero gay because of your narcissism.
right.
This character, I like this character, and he should be gay because I want him to be gay. Okay, okay, fine. It's not your character. You literally don't shouldn't be allowed to do that, but for some reason you are. But whatever. But what happens is with these characters is they go from being superheroes to being gay people with superpowers, and it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
Iceman. Iceman didn't just fail because you turned him gay. Iceman failed because you turned him into one. You turned him into a '90s stereotype of a gay dude,
Right.
where you literally wasted issues where, oh, I'm going on a date. What should I wear? Yeah,
Yes.
nobody's going to spend, except a very minute audience, is
Dramatic.
going to spend $4 on a book like that.
Dramatic
And
conversations in hallways.
yeah, and
Yes.
I guess somebody should inform these people your community isn't nearly as big as you think it is just because of social media.
Well,
You're less than 5% combined.
right. Money talks, dude.
So
And
that,
money is showing them, but they don't listen.
but it's not even that. If you're less than 5% of an audience, you are a niche of a niche. And I've said this before, and I'll repeat it again. In most of these industries, whether it's entertainment or otherwise, if you can capture 10% of anything and that be your regular audience, you're doing well.
Hmm. That's true.
Even the NFL, for as big as the NFL is, go look at the ratings.
Yeah.
Oh, 30 million people. Oh, look, that's right around 10% of the population, isn't it?
Right. I don't even watch it
That
anymore
that
because of their stupidity. Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm saying even still, even like during the Super Bowl, if it doubles, oh wow, so now you're at 15-20%. Again, that's
You're doing well.
that's
Yeah.
but that's one of the big. You're doing incredible, and look at the money they're doing with just 10%.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you're gonna do this gay stuff, for lack of a better term, if you're gonna do this gay stuff, you better understand you've just cut out 95% of the buying audience for that industry
They don't understand.
because
They've been
most
given an order.
people
Yeah.
aren't interested in that. I'm not interested in that.
No.
I'm gonna
Alan,
be honest. Even if it was a straight book, I'm not spending $4 on. Oh my God, what am I gonna wear for this date?
no, it's insane, and that's why they're not selling. And Alan, you're 100% right. Burt Ward outfit all the way. He said that
Yeah.
I would do a big twist story where Iceman murders Jean Grey using Cerebro. He stays gay but gets revenge. That's true. That is the evil shit they did. And we won't get into that again, but we've discussed that quite clearly. Joe Fix It though. I'm scared to read it. See, that's the problem because that looks
Okay.
interesting.
All right. Here's why I wouldn't be worried about that one, because that's a Peter David book,
Oh, okay. All right.
and Peter David's books have been the best thing Marvel has been doing for like the last 3 years. It's
Okay.
between that and X-Men Legends, because it's all right, Chester, for lack of a better term, just think of like your favorite band from when you was a teenager
Hmm.
just going out and doing a greatest hits tour.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what those books are.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's
Because
It's Peter David doing, and it's not just that he's taking that character, he's putting it in that timeline.
that's cool. Yeah,
So
because Joe
it
Fixit
because
is a blast from the past for damn sure.
yeah, because he did he's done a bunch of books since, I want to say, 2019. One of them was Incredible Hulk Last Call, and it was in that period. It was actually really good. It was Peter David and Dale Keown. I think it's one of the last ones Dale
Hmm.
did with Marvel. Even though after reading that book, no, Dale Keown should always be allowed to do Hulk books whenever the fuck he wants. Um, but it was it was a one shot, but it was in that period of Peter David's run, just like X-Men Legends,
Hmm.
where they'll do a one off or a two-part story with the writers from that period taking characters and putting them back in that period. Um, just like the upcoming and Nascenti Storm book, it's going to be during that period. So those are the books. Ironically, Marvel doesn't advertise nearly enough,
Right.
but would do better because they're from the ones that I've seen, they're their best books.
Well, yeah, but if I saw it on a shelf, I'd pick it up because I'm an old time
Yeah,
comic book guy. So maybe I should read this one. Spider Gwen, Shadow
yeah.
Clones. First of all, I thought she was
Well, he
changed
he
to.
did that. He also did that. Remember when they had the Fantastic Four, when it was Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and Wolverine filling in as the Fantastic Four?
Oh, right. Yeah.
He he did a 5 issue mini on that one too. That
Oh,
one was
okay.
fun.
So,
I
all
got
right.
that. So yeah, look,
Yeah, I'm sure some good things are coming out, but it's being
they
spoiled.
don't get promoted.
Yeah, and they don't get promoted. But this thing right here with Spider Gwen, I thought she was called Ghost Spider. What happened? I guess it reverted. And they're still doing multiverse clone stuff, huh? Hmm.
They go back and forth. One issue they're calling her Ghost Spider. Next issue they're calling her Spider Gwen. It's like you don't even know what the fuck you want to do with this character.
I know she is a sexy little thing. So there is some selling
Uh,
value to it.
She's another character. To be honest, the popularity of Spider Gwen is just because she's easy to cosplay.
True, and I don't mind it.
And I'm not against cosplayers, but I
Hmm.
mean that's the strength of her.
I
Is
wish
that
I wish that Silk had caught on because that is a good looking little costume. I would have liked to
they're
see
they're
more of those.
trying they're trying to bring her back. And here's the funny thing. for as much as they talk about, you know, diversity and inclusion, it's kind of funny that Marvel over the last 10 years have put out more original Asian characters
Yeah.
than any other group, and they don't really talk about that because when they talk about the need for representation, okay, so you have Silk, then you have Arrow, then you have Wave,
Hmm.
then you have Swordmaster. Um, you had a couple that was made for a mobile game, but they brought them to the comics in Luna Snow and Warriors of the Sky. The other agents of Atlas. You've done all these
Yeah.
things, so it's like, oh, so you can do this when you want to.
I like Agents of Atlas. I got the omnibus. It's a
Yeah,
good one. But yeah, no, you're right.
but
But they don't promote it, oddly enough. Silk, though,
no,
I like the concept, the character, but it's a bit harsh. I mean, because she's, basically a creation of rape, right? I mean, she's one of those rape
yeah,
creations. It can work, the vengeance side of things, but I don't. I think I understand it's kind of like racial comedy is an easy joke. It's an easy laugh, right?
yeah,
A lot of times, a woman scorned rape. It's easy, right?
yeah.
But I actually don't think it's that. I don't think it's that easy to pull it off, though. I think it's hard to pull it off. But whatever. Looking through here, there's some stuff I don't know, indie stuff or Image Comics or something like that. Cool. I don't know what they're doing with Iron Man, but I know they've really and this guy Larson has lost his goddamn mind. It's impressive Savage Dragon's gone as far as it's gone, but I mean, come on. Um,
Yeah.
this Kaya comic, they've just really screwed things up. Don't even talk about what they've done to Scooby Doo and Biden giving that lady an award. Why? The
Well,
thing was
anybody can get an award
instantly
these days.
canceled. That show was instantly canceled, but yet she gets an award at the White House. But it's so much crap coming out of the comic book industry right now. And
And you know who surprisingly has a good lineup of writers right now, but they're not promoting them? Is frickin' Dynamite.
yeah, no, Dynamite's puts some good stuff out. That's
I
true.
No, I'm saying right now, Dynamite has if you're familiar with movies like 48 Hours and Die Hard, one of the writers, Steven D'Souza, is writing Sheena of the Jungle, not being advertised for some fucking reason. Um, you have Dan Jurgens writing a Tarzan book, which I read the
Nice.
first issue. I liked it. Lord of the Jungle, and if you like the old school kind of pulp art, the guy that they have doing it looked good. It was a good read. Again, not promoting it.
Yeah, I
Then you
don't see
got Christopher
Dynamite here
Priest
anywhere.
over there not promoting what he's doing. It's like you actually got some good stuff going here. You should be advertising this shit, but you're
Right.
not.
And I like Boom Studios sometimes too. I don't see Dynamite here at all, dude. I'm back checking. I see
Yeah.
Boom. Oh, here we go. Here's Dynamite. Scar. All right. What's going on with Dynamite? Let me see if I can
Oh yeah,
click
and they're
on it.
doing Gargoyles with Greg Wiseman.
I don't see. Maybe I can find it in Browse.
I guess you would have to go look for it.
Is there a search button? All right. Where's Dynamite? Where? Oh, here they are. Okay. You got a Betty Page, Barbarella. I remember we talked about that. 007. Darkwing Duck,
Oh yeah, they got Dan
Maleficent.
Abnett doing Dan Abnett
Wow.
doing I want to say is it
Red
Red
Sonja.
Sonja that he's
Red
doing?
Sonja, yeah.
Yep.
And we got Deja Thoris, a fan favorite. Elvira thing we
Hmm.
talked about actually before. Lord of the Jungle, Tarzan one you were talking about. Miss
Yeah.
Fury, that's cute. But yeah, no, these the Pathfinder
Is
comic
that a
is not.
different one from the one that they crowdfunded? Because I got the crowdfunded one with Billy Tucci and
This is ongoing.
that they
This
did.
is This is Elvira in Monsterland, so it's a new one.
No,
Uh,
I was looking at the Miss Fury. you had
Oh,
mentioned.
Miss Fury. I don't know. This has been going on since 2022, so
Okay,
maybe.
that is the Joy
Yeah.
Division. That is the one they crowdfunded. I got that.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's an old character brought back. But yeah, it looks like fun stuff.
Yeah.
But they're just
Again,
doing fun stuff. They're doing a lot of IPs and things like that. And they're just having fun. The problem is Marvel is in general not allowing fun. So we're seeing a lot of cancelization. Nevertheless, let's get into today's last story, and that is simply looking at the craziness. Now, Dungeons and Dragons
oof,
box office bombs worse than Shazam. Now,
oof.
this is a sad one because it looks like there's a lot of fan love in that movie. And I think you had two camps working on that movie because there's a lot of little, just watching the trailers, there's lots of little Easter eggs for us D&Ders who've been doing it forever. Little things that you would recognize as a player, right? So that's great fan service. But at the same time, they have cucked out this main character completely, and they're proud that they're doing it. So,
Now,
well,
some of the reviews I've heard said that was a bit. That's a bit of a swerve.
maybe, but it's similar to
But they
cut.
shouldn't have advertised that way. They,
Well,
even if that's a swerve, you shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't say anything that could potentially turn off customers.
Ray Thulu says, "Boom pissed me off when they bought the rights to Buffy and rebooted it, killing the canon from the live action share with Dark Horse. Maybe they don't all own all the rights. Maybe that was the issue, because sometimes we see that happen. Like Lord of the Rings by Amazon. They didn't own all the
Yeah.
rights. It could be that. Maybe it is, but then again, like Thunder was telling me that Shazam was actually not a bad movie, but they cuck him out the whole movie, and then at the end he becomes the hero. Well, okay, he has his hero's moment, but is it necessary to cuck your character out the entire time? I mean, so that might be what's going on here, but it doesn't matter. It
Yep.
bombed madly, and it's a shame because I would love a great D&D movie, but it's
Yeah.
and Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, is I'm sure in threat. Blue Beetle is getting a teaser, which it could be fun. This has got a Latino. We talked about Secret Invasion a little bit. The Mandalorian is tanking like crazy, and why I don't know. People are just sick of it. We got a new writer for
No.
Fantastic
Well, it's
Four.
like I said earlier. They've made it to where nothing matters.
Yeah,
And if you're gonna make something to where nothing matters, well, guess what? It doesn't become must see. It's like the Shazam thing. If I'm not saying that they shouldn't have had James Gunn do the reveal, I wouldn't have done it before those movies came out because
yeah,
you basically told everybody who might have been interested in seeing Shazam 2, why bother? I'll wait and it might do well on streaming or DVD sales. That's possible. But if you was planning for this movie to do well in the theaters, then you shouldn't have told them nothing matters, which is
that's
what you did.
true. That's true. Roland Mann says, "Hey, I did Miss Fury in the '90s." Well, good for you, dude. That's awesome. Alan is continuing saying, "Oof, critical damage." It's true, Alan. It is true. We got this Marvel's Blade gets a new comic. No daughter mentioned. Hmm. Hmm.
That'd be interesting. That's interesting.
Well, they're going to try to promote whatever they're doing for the Blade movie if it's going to happen. They're doing Scott Pilgrim. Don't
Well, here, here,
care.
here's something interesting. How about you put out a movie and you actually put out a comic that has the fucking character of the movie
Hmm.
in the comic, unlike what you did during phase 1 through 4 of your MCU,
Yeah.
where you have an Avengers book and none of the Avengers in the movie is in the fucking book.
No, right. And we talked about this 6 years ago when this all kicked off, right? When the whole
Yes.
indie movement thing, Comicsgate, where you want to call it, kicked off. That's what we talked about in the beginning. You have all of these movies, because for a decade we got a lot of fun money making movies coming out of Marvel, right? We did.
Yeah.
But yet if your kid went, you saw Captain America, like, hey, Captain's cool. I want a Captain America comic, Dad. And you take him down the comic book store. They're, oh, sorry, Captain America's a black man who flies now. Or or, oh no, he's a gay character. So what do the fathers do? They either go dig through the old stuff or they just walk out, right? They just walk out.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you not, comic book industry, how are you not taking advantage of this shit? How did you fail so badly? How is it that at every damn Marvel movie that dropped, at least within the continental US, there wasn't a free comic for everyone who entered the theater, at least on opening weekend? Why?
Should
Why?
have been.
How in the, what the hell are you doing? Stan Lee would have been on that shit, right?
Oh yeah.
He would have been on it, right? Matter of fact, he was on it back in the day. I'm just saying, unbelievably missed opportunity. You should have shifted all that nonsense you were doing and mimicked and what was at least some of your comic books, like we said, they're putting out 70, 90 a month. Some of your comics should have
Yeah.
mirrored exactly what the people are seeing. Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Thor. It should have been mimicking, but they did none of it. They did none of it,
Yep.
right? And no, of course, Roland says, walk out, walk out. And he said, yeah, my kids aren't interested in new Marvel or DC comics. Neither are mine. And I tried when they were younger to get them in. They were in for a little while. Now they're completely out because they got
Yeah.
better
And
shit,
well,
manga.
well, not between between manga, between pricing them out and not having again when when I was a kid and I saw Batman on TV or I saw Spider-Man on TV. I was able to go to the comic store and pick up a Batman comic, and Batman was in the fucking book, and pick up a Spider-Man comic and it's
Hmm.
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
You can't you had, and not just that you had these successful movies, some of those characters were more popular than they had ever been. Black Widow had never been more popular
Right. Iron
than at
Man.
that moment.
Yeah.
Hawkeye had never been more popular, and you don't have them in the books.
You don't.
You don't
No.
have a Black Widow series going. You don't. You had a Hawkeye series going, but you had them with a bunch of D-listers because you want, for some reason, you couldn't accept the fact that your your reimagining of America Chavez wasn't selling.
Right. No, they missed
So
the
instead of
opportunity
having
100%. Yeah, there was total disconnect.
admit,
Yeah.
opportunities, it was, if it was just one that was horrible enough.
It was a
You
decade.
dropped the ball in every. Bruce Banner is dead, and Hulk hasn't been this popular since the
And
'80s.
he's a Chinaman.
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
who did not need that.
No, we didn't need
That
that.
all
No.
that hurt Amadeus Cho as a character more
Yeah,
than
because
it
he could have
helped
been a
him.
cool little character, just like Doc Samson is a cool little character.
Yeah,
But
he
Hulk is
was. He
Hulk,
already
dude.
had. He was already. He was a side character, but he was a little more interesting than what he became.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
You turned
agree.
him into Jersey. You turned him into Jersey Shore Hulk because yeah, that fucking sells.
Well, you remember years ago when Mike went and dropped his kid off at school, Mike Miller, right?
Yeah,
Dropped his kid off at
yeah.
school, and Mike's in San Diego, and he was just tape. He just kind of did a quick little live stream and taping because I guess in San Diego they have where the kids' lockers are on the outside of the school instead of on the inside.
Hmm.
So they had all these little drawers that the kids could put their stuff in, right? And they were just everywhere he looked. There was Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man. They were just Marvel backpacks everywhere. But none of those kids were
Yeah,
reading the comic book. None of them.
exactly.
And I mean,
Not even through Scholastic, which is sad.
well, yeah, but Scholastic puts out stuff that the kids aren't interested in. I mean, they're just not interested because Scholastic only buys the gay stuff because they're trying to push an agenda. And
Yep.
the thing is, I imagine in junior high, high school age group, not elementary, it doesn't work that way. But junior high, high school kids, I'm sure you do get a few gay curious kids or kids that feel they're that way. And if they see a comic here or there that is promoting that, I kind of get them digging it. Okay, okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're putting 70 to 90 books a month out, you
Yeah.
can't put that as a little side thing and then have your main
But
thing streaming. No, no, no. It's all or nothing,
but
right?
but also they at times it's like, did these people like all or either they're in a stage of arrested development or they forgot what it
Well,
was like when they was a kid.
that's clear. We
Where
see a
it's
lot
like
of people in that. Yeah, that's clear. Yeah.
kids kids also can like something based on the simplest of shit.
Color.
Oh, why'd you like that character? He's wearing red. I like red.
Hmm.
I mean, that was for me. That's how a lot of things were for
Hmm.
me. A lot of people don't believe. Like I tell people, the difference me growing up a Chicago Bulls fan and a New York Knicks fan, I saw the Bulls first.
Fair.
That was it.
They
That
do have cooler
I,
logo.
re- I remembered seeing the Bulls first.
Yeah, and of course Jordan, the phenom that he
Yeah,
is.
but
Uh, but no, you're
I
right.
mean,
Like,
I mean, Patrick Ewing was he wasn't chopped liver, but I remember seeing Jordan in the Bulls first.
yeah, but the
I
Bulls
didn't
are
remember
way
seeing the
cooler
Knicks.
looking. Yeah, you're right. But the advertisement stuff. But yeah, when my kid was
Yeah.
little, every object had to be blue, and all food had to be red. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean,
It's that
it's
simple.
that simple. And he'd get upset if you got him a little Matchbox car and it wasn't blue, he would cry, literally cry. And then I'd smack him in the
Mhm.
back of the head and say, "Be appreciative." Let's see here. Starfleet Academy, which is going to woke it up. They're proudly advertising woke it up. This thing saying this guy's going to be the new Superman, and James goes, "No, he's not," and we know he's not because James Gunn is going to do Black Superman. We know he is. Come on now.
Well, one thing I agree with a lot of people about some of the criticism about James Gunn. One of the criticisms I agree with this completely. He spends way too much fucking time on Twitter.
A lot of them do. Trump as well.
I, res- I respect that. I do appreciate people in that position interacting with fans. I'm not trying to say don't do it at all. Cut
Yeah,
it, cut it, cut it in half.
yeah, no, it's too much. But James Gunn
Fifty
is,
percent lesson.
yeah, but James Gunn is definitely doing Black Superman. It won't be Kal El. It'll be one of the other characters. But he's definitely doing Black Superman. I mean, come on, come on.
If it's anything, then Kal-El, it's not gonna work.
No, probably not. It won't be Kal El
Superman,
though. He won't do that.
look, I I know these people don't think that there's such a thing as a sacred cow, but there's certain things you just don't fuck with. Even if you're not a fan of it, you don't fuck with it.
It's true. It is true, and
It's
we
it's it's and one and you've teased the idea of fucking with Superman. That's why you did what you did with Jonathan Kent, because you knew how disastrous it would have been if you'd have done that with Kal-El. Just don't fucking do it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just don't do it.
yeah. No, there's a disconnect, Roger. I agree. No, and don't care about that. Marvel's Thunderbolts. That could be fun. That could be fun. Who knows what it's going to be? They got a new writer, Steven Yuen. Cool. Maybe good.
Well,
Uh,
I would say, Roger, you would think that would be the case with a lot of stuff. Like a lot of the arts have taken a big step back, and you would think with the better technology and the not just technologies, but the different avenues that are available that you just didn't have back then to do these kind of things, that it would be
right.
better, and it's so much worse.
Yeah. No,
It's kind of stunning, to be
but
honest.
Thunderbolts are basically Marvel's Suicide Squad, right? So
Yeah.
it could be fun. It could be fun. Clayface, we've heard rumors. We don't know what kind of Clayface we're going to get. My Adventures, a Superman movie to Adult Swim expansion. I don't even. I don't even. Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I don't know anything about that. Although it's a star. I don't know. Marvel's Wonder Woman cast villain Demetrius Gross as Grim Reaper. Well, so that means we're getting a Black Wonder Man. Why is
Yes, you're getting
why
Black
is
Wonder Man and Black Grim Reaper.
why is well if the Grim Reaper's black, then Wonder Man's black. Obviously,
Yeah,
they're
well,
brothers.
you didn't see. Well, yeah, you didn't see the casting. They've been casted the dude.
No, no, we don't.
I forgot the dude's name. I mean,
It's
again,
stupid. We don't
this
need
is
it.
not.
Who's Demetrius
You
Gross?
know, you don't. Why? First of all, why couldn't you do a fucking Night Thrasher series if you're gonna do that?
Yeah, sure. We already have black character. Yeah,
Why can't we have a night? We can't get Night Thrasher, Dwayne, and Silhouette. We can't get that triangle.
yeah. I mean, why not more Luke
All right.
Cage? Why not, some more of the other black characters that are running around? But
Well,
no, all
well, not
right.
just that. The New Warriors. They kept teasing it. Like, you could give us the New Warriors, and I think
Yeah,
most people would dig it
yeah,
because
sure.
that in the '90s that had a good run.
Or West Coast, not a West Coast Avengers, the Great Lakes Avengers as well.
Yeah,
But and they're very diverse. That's right in their wheel park. But nope. Why is Demetrius Gross a villain? Please explain.
because he is Grim Reaper, I guess.
Well, no, it says it casts villain Demetrius Gross as Grim Reaper. It doesn't say Gross as Grim Reaper, the villain. It says that he's a villain.
Yeah, that is
Is
that
he
is
a
poorly
bad guy?
worded there because but that means he was already a bad guy before he was casted.
Right?
Was he out in
Oh,
Hollywood saying
has cast it's
villain for
villain.
hire?
No, they corrected here, but no, it's just bad writing. All right, but yet no, thank you, done. Wes Anderson's Asteroid City trailer. It's very, very, very Anderson. It is the ultra Wes Anderson. It's Wes Anderson on steroids. So if you like his colorful Candyland crap, then go watch it.
I I saw somebody where because I'm not too familiar with it, but I know the memes. There's like now with 50% more Wes Anderson. It's like okay,
Yeah, right. No, but it super is. Alan says, I don't mind that. Wonder Woman, Wonder Man isn't that iconic enough. Well, dude, you never read West Coast
does it?
Avengers then. Yeah.
It to me, it's not even a matter of whether it's iconic enough. It's the fact that if you accept it once, they keep doing it.
Well,
That's to me, that's the point.
but it's another thing. They had a perfect actor all set up for it with Nathan Fillion. He's perfect Wonder Man. He's perfect Nathan Drake, and no one bid on it. It's ridiculous, and it's probably because he doesn't speak the right things. Deadpool 3, don't care. Just so you know, in the comic book, Deadpool is gay now, and he's got a gay
Of
lover,
course, he is.
just like Jonathan. Yeah, of course he's gay. It makes perfect sense from all those years of reading Deadpool that he'd be gay. Perfect sense. Kind of like Iceman. He's definitely would be gay. We saw it coming. Let's see here. Perlmutter's been axed, but then again, he's been kneecapped for
He had
for
been, yeah.
years. Uh, she's out. Okay, whatever. That's she's not the ultimate problem. Oh, they canceled Constantine too. I was looking forward to it. Uh,
She was one of the big problems. I mean,
yeah, yeah, but
yeah, she wasn't the sole problem, but
Iger is the
she
problem.
at well, yeah, him too. But as phase 1 through 3, she didn't have much power.
Fair, Jeff.
Phase 4, she had far more power than she did previously, and it showed. And unfortunately for fans, it showed.
Yeah, no, she's definitely irritating. To be fair, but I'm upset. Constantine 2 is canceled. Damn it. Anyway, who cares about Brie Larson? She talk about tanking a career. Let's see. Is there anything here? Netflix unleashes the chosen one. I don't care. Whatever. See, the thing is, I don't care. That's what they've done. They were going to do an anime X Files reboot. What? It's been canceled though. A lot of shit's been canceled. Lots of things have been
Beavis and
canceled.
Butthead is the only good news of anything I've seen up here. Beavis and Butthead is the only good thing I've seen up here.
No,
God bless Mike
no.
Judge.
Yeah. Sad. Nicolas Cage wouldn't mind play the Spectre. Neither would I, Nick. Neither would I. Someone get that done. Nick Cage as the Spectre. Oh my god, dude. Can you imagine that? he'd
Yeah,
be he'd be all creepy and Victorian. It'd be awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward
but
to his Renfield.
unfortunately there I Well, I have nothing against the current guy, Crispus, who is the current host of the Spectre, but they would go with him just because he's black.
Yeah. But look at this right here. U.S. Army pulls Jonathan Majors ad. Why? Why you have look at the
Because
stupid ads you put up already. Your absolute
they
insane nonsense that no normal red-blooded American who you need would join, and yet you put this dude up and now where he no he could be possibly potentially guilty. We're not going to wait. We're
they
not going to
suspended
stall.
it. Well, they didn't fire him completely. They suspended all ads with him. So I
Ooh.
mean,
Anyway, Saint Seiya thing going on. We've talked about all this other stuff before, but goodness gracious, dude, what a bunch of nonsense!
yeah.
Pandemonium. Yes, I was going to just call it Night Owls on Chaos, but I feel like I've used that before, so I chose a word I knew I hadn't used before: pandemonium. But it is crazy the amount of stuff that's just flying everywhere. And the thing is, because I'm not in the States, so I don't know. Is anyone talking about Ukraine at all anymore?
No,
No, no. Do you know why?
because it's nonsense. It was nonsense from the beginning.
Yeah, but it's also because Ukraine has absolutely been throttled by the Russians.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, the thing is, Putin has been slow playing this because he figured that when he came in, there would be talks and there'd be treaties and there another round of that bullshit. Because the West never keeps its word. Let's be fair. When I was a kid, we had an expression called an Indian giver. You know what that means? No.
Yeah.
Okay. An Indian giver is a person that gives you something and then asks for it back or breaks their word. A liar, a cheater, a treaty breaker, which is ironic because the American government broke treaties with Indians far more than the opposite. But nevertheless, this is a term
Yeah.
we used: Indian giver. And the West, when it comes to Russia, especially the Soviet Union, or not even, just most of the history, just Russia, have been nothing but Indian givers. Nothing. They lie and break their word constantly. And I figured when Putin started this, he was just figuring it would go the same way it always went. And he slow played it. He didn't bring the military in for over a year, right? The real military, right? It was all
Yeah.
little like delaying actions and movements. And he was just trying to force it to the table. And keep in mind, this whole time, the only people that have asked for peace talks are the Russians. No one else, just them. Well, and Belarus and some of their allies, China. But the thing is, well, Putin came to an understanding a few months back, I guess, and realized that nah, that's not the game they're playing. So he just said, well, let's just get it done then. And he put his generals in charge. Said, all right, go do it. And they brought the actual army in, and the generals are actually doing their thing. And of course, what does that mean? Well, Ukraine's getting actually absolutely trounced. Absolutely trounced. Now, they don't have an army anyway. So it's
Yeah.
all mercenaries anyway. But it's absolute devastation. The Russians are still slow playing it, really. They're not rushing. There's no panic, right? Well,
No
it's
rushing from the
interesting.
Russians.
Well, I mean, you would think in a state of war there would be a panic to have this or that, but they're not. They're slow playing in an incredible manner, and of course that's why their death numbers or their casualty numbers so low, right? But we have in a conservative amount over 200,000 dead Ukrainian soldiers. Now, who knows how many damn civilians are dead? Now, to be fair, a huge percentage of the population of Ukraine left anyway. A ton of them went over to Russia and Russia ally countries, and then another big huge chunk of them went into Poland, Romania, Moldova, places like that, Lithuania. So huge chunk of the population is out of the country anyway. And if you go watch the
Yep.
interviews with them, which you can find if you take yourself outside of your American orbit, you'll find those people, they're not talking about wanting to get home. They're going to stay right where they are. They're not going home at all. So Ukraine
Mm.
has already lost a huge chunk of its population anyway. Its army has been literally devastated, obliterated, actually, is a better word. And you have just mercenaries fighting, and the mercenaries are capricious by nature, right? Um,
Yeah.
so, it's complete debacle. And of course, the Western media doesn't want to talk about it anymore because the whole time we're like, Russia's weak. Look how weak Russia is. It's like, really? Are they? I mean, sure, if the American military decided to go in and do something, well, the Americans would win. It'd be bloody and painful, but they'd win, of course. But then again, the American military could take on the entire planet. It would be devastating to everyone, including the Americans, but they could do it, and they'd probably win, right? So what does that matter in the grand scheme of things? But they're trying to make Russia look pathetic, and it's like I get it. It's your scapegoat for your nonsense, but no one's talking about that, and people are still dying. Remember, I was talking
Yeah.
about this years ago. I said many, many times, why is no one talking about Ukraine? People have been being killed there for years and years and years, and no one covers it. When we had the Maidan Revolution, it was popular. It was a media darling for like a few months, and then everyone stopped talking about it, even though that civil war never stopped. And then also, all of a sudden, here we
Yeah.
have this happening. I've been talking about that for years, Grimlock, saying, why does no one care? Right? Why does no one care? The American military is in Sudan, is in Somalia, is in Ethiopia, is acting all over the Middle East, is down in Sri Lanka and other places in Southeast Asia. Why does no one care about all the American military involvement all throughout Mesoamerica? Why does no one care that America has been threatening to invade not only Mexico but Haiti and has actually gone to the Canadian government to do their Haiti invasion for them? Why is no one talking about all these aggressive war actions that the Americans are up to right now? Why does no one talk about
I
it?
will say, to be fair, the average American doesn't even know that. They don't even they know. If you was to tell them all of that right now, that would be the first time they've heard it.
Yeah, it's
Especially the sheer amount of time that they've been, not just that they're there, the amount of time that they have been there.
oh yeah, yeah,
Because that's the part that I think that at times get lost. Like you said, it's not just that they've been there for years,
years and years,
causing shit,
years and years, and
destabilizing shit.
that's what they do. Now, Trump, fair to be fair, Trump did try to minimize as much as he could. He did try, but
And his own party committed treason against him, and for
oh
some
yeah,
reason nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about treasonous actions lately
never
as though they're
Trumpers.
experts, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, he
You
was
have
fighting against
people
everyone for sure.
to who are obligated to the president in his office, and they willingly lied
Oh yeah,
about the amount of troops we had
hmm,
in Afghanistan,
yeah,
and nobody said a fucking thing.
yeah.
Every last one of them, the Republicans who was in office at the time included, should have been facing treason charges, and they're not.
Right. And has everyone forgotten about the debacle of the retreat from Afghanistan? Anybody? How many
Oh yeah,
Americans died? How
that is
many
completely
civilians died? Yeah.
that has completely been out of sight, out of mind, because of the not because of the flag stuff.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
I also think it's a continuation of Obama's policy, because it's clear Obama was pro ISIS. It's very clear.
oh
And you
yes,
say, "How dare you, Chester?" Dude, go look at it. How many times is the American military going to say, "Oops, we dropped those huge crates of arms in the wrong place. ISIS got them. Oh shucks." How many times
well,
does that happen? Once, sure. But how many times did that happen under Obama? Many, many times. And I
well,
think Biden came in and finished the job because I saw a
yeah.
video just the other day, Grimlock, just the other day, where
Mm.
there was all kinds of American vehicles and copters and being just freaking barrels of guns and a whole bunch of smiling Taliban standing all around. Just the other day, I saw this, right?
Well, here's the thing about the Obama administration. Most people either are unaware of or don't want to believe, and we've talked about it before. But so this won't be nothing new that I'm about to say. Everything that Americans said that they hated about George W. Bush, Obama did, and Obama actually found a way, in many regards, to do worse versions of it.
Yeah, he did.
So
I mean, he hurt
it's
America more than any president in my living memory. Well, Nixon, Nixon did bad things, but not what you think he did, right?
yeah,
But now Obama caused lots of trouble, dude, lots of trouble. And Biden has just continued it. It's just a continuation of the Obama bullshit. The only difference is they're
yeah,
not as adept at the subterfuge as Obama's crew was. They were much better at hiding it, right? Biden's crew is incompetent, as is their boss, right?
yeah.
But anyway, I'm ranting. But it is ridiculous. But I mean, you have both, and it's bipartisan, talking
Yeah,
about the invasion of Mexico. Why? I mean, what's the point? Do they want to just make Mexico part of America and solve the problem that way? That would be devastating. Imagine Mexico being and broken up into how many ever states and adding that to the American flag. Imagine Mexico being able to simply walk over the border freely. Well, they're kind of doing it now, but you know what I mean. That would be devastating to the American public.
they're not going to do that. They don't. They don't. Unless there's something in Mexico that they want that we're just unaware of at the moment. I don't see them
Yeah,
going
but
that way.
but no, but they want to, right? And nothing against Mexicans. They have their own culture and they have their own problems, but that would absolutely obliterate America. It would become a Mexico. And, like I said, Mexico is Mexico. Let Mexico be Mexico. It's not America. It would be the death of America. It would be. It would be. Because Mexicans have very different values. First of all, they're extremely Catholic, right?
Yeah,
And America is a Protestant country, so that would blow that out of the water right there. They're also way more conservative than these idiots think they are, right? But they also have a lot of trouble with violence, lots of violence troubles, lots. And although, and the thing is, some people don't understand this, Grimlock. IQ, when brought to conversations about the individual, doesn't apply very well. But when we're
yeah,
looking at a large group, it gives us a sense of things, right? It's just a barometer, really. The lowest IQ on Earth is Mexico and Mesoamerica, not Africa, not the Middle East, although that's pretty low there too. Now, and now the difference between Africa and the Middle East is the education programs there are not great. They're really
yeah.
quite bad. Mexico has a robust education system, and yet they're still the lowest IQ per capita, or not even per capita, just in general on Earth. On Earth. Why is that?
Hmm.
Why is that?
Good question.
But you can't talk about that. You can't talk about that. But I think there's a lot of conversations we get into, which I won't. But I'm just saying you can't unlock that and then unleash that on the American on America. You would destroy it. You would destroy it. Completely different values, different thinking, and it would just tear up what we have. And that probably is why they want to do it. The whole thing with Haiti. You have a group of people. It's a grassroots revolution happening in Haiti, pushing back against Western imperialism. Because I know I don't like to use that word because it's often used improperly, but in this case, it is proper use. And
Yeah,
old barbecue over there in Haiti, the grassroots leader, he's actually what the people want. They're trying to make their lives better, protect themselves from gang leaders and radically corrupt politicians. And the American guard can't have that. We can't have no upstarts on our border. You do what you're told. And America sent a whole bunch of our CIA types down in there, and they were going to do a little invasion, but it got out to the public, and they were like, okay, it's going to be bad PR. Let's get Canada to do it. I shit you not.
yeah.
They're having Canada go and invade Haiti now. It's insane, dude. It's insane. But I gotta get ready. I gotta go to work. Goodness gracious. Every time. Anything you'd like to close on there, Grimlock?
um, no. I mean, we're It's kind of crazy. We're into April already.
and it's pure chaos, dude. It's
Yeah,
insanity every damn day, dude.
yeah. Because I'm pretty sure this stupidity with the Trump indictment. I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
It's just politics. They just
I,
want it to be
I
seen.
it's a waste. I mean, for all the things that New York has problems with, that's where you're gonna, that's where you're gonna spend your resources, and
Yeah.
whatever.
No, no.
If the people are fine with that, and with all the problems they got, you get what you get.
You and I both know they're not. We both lived in New York. You know the people
I
are
know
not
that.
okay with it. You know they're not.
No,
And the thing is, New York has always had trouble. The best years, unless we go way way back, the best years New York's ever had was under Rudy Giuliani. Plain and simple, right? Because he was no nonsense against crime guy, and his corruption wasn't as deep, I'd imagine. Because oh Jesus, were you who were you under when you were there?
when
Koch,
I was a
maybe?
kid, it was, well. Let's see. It was, well, when I was small, it was when I was small, really small, it was Koch, then Dinkins, then Fagliani,
Oh
then
yeah, yeah.
Bloom, then I
Bloomberg, yeah.
left right as Bloomberg took over.
Mm, goodness gracious.
So I'll just say that New York's never had good leadership. Even though Giuliani gets a lot of credit for cleaning up New York, it was basically Joe Biden's crime shit that New York was one of the first states to sign up for that.
right, right.
So
It did help
they
though.
was yeah, it helped, but basically it was the we'll pay you to knock niggas up policy. So
Hmm.
for better or worse, it is what it is. I don't
Yeah.
like you as far as I'm concerned. You can hang both Biden and Giuliani with the same rope, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, well,
Um,
okay, I get that. He is a politician. But thing
yeah.
is, with this new DA though, he's against any kind of bail. He's against he's canceling misdemeanors. He just let criminals do what you want to do. That's what this guy is doing. We've seen other cities around America do that, and absolute chaos has ensued. And of course, New York is under this, and it's very funny to me that he's so against all these misdemeanors and he's trying to get rid of them completely, but yet he's trying to literally trump up Trump on a misdemeanor.
Well, it's yeah. Well, again, where you spend your resources, and that's because he's looking to further his career. He's not
He
looking to
is.
help New Yorkers, and I hope New Yorkers see this, and it should be getting a fire lit under their ass to recall this clown. Um, because he's not going to do anything to help you. And
Well,
here's another thing New Yorkers may not be realizing: because of the cost of living in New York, your economy, most of the taxes come from the 10%, the 1%, and those are those trust fund kids and all of that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if them little white kids don't feel safe in New York, they're gonna take their money elsewhere.
and there we are. They're bailing to Florida in
So
huge numbers, dude. Yeah.
I
Um,
wonder why.
yeah, I wonder why. But I mean, one of the problems in New York that maybe the rest of you listening who haven't lived in New York, New York's got serious problems. Manhattan is Manhattan, and it's
Yeah,
noisy, rich white ladies. Let's just be fair. Even if they're not white, they're still noisy white ladies, right? They're Karens. Outside of that,
yeah.
the boroughs and every place around, it's so segregated into all of these communities, and these communities do not communicate with each other. It is incredibly so. It's just a city of little tribes all over the place, and they don't communicate and they don't work together. That's why they can't come together and get rid of these idiots in Manhattan who make everything happen. And I think Chicago is a similar situation because they can't unify. They can't. The Italians won't work with the Spics. The Spics won't work with the blacks, et cetera, et
And none
cetera.
of them want to work with the Jews.
Nobody wants the Jews, right? Nobody. But you know what I mean.
I know, I know. It's funny because they always talk about diversity. I'm like, yes, it's diverse, but if you've never been there, it's not the diversity. Again, white liberals like the concept of things, and your concept of diversity and comparison to it in actual practice is not what you think it is.
No. And dude, I lived in New York twice when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
then as an adult, I as well. So when I was much younger, I lived in Brooklyn Heights. When
yeah,
I was a bit older, like junior high school age, I lived in Flatbush, Jew Flatbush. And then as
yeah.
an adult, I lived in Greenwich
East
Village.
that was East Flatbush if you're on the Jewish side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the problem is, I went to that. I went to that junior high down the road, right? So
Mhm.
I had to walk through. I had to walk through Italian Flatbush and then through Black Street to get to the school. So nearly every day, I had some manner of scuffle with blacks and then Latinos before I went to Jew, and I couldn't go the other way around because the Jews were completely surrounded, right?
Yeah,
So it didn't matter which way I go. This little white boy, but then again, I learned how to fight, though. I suppose that's a benefit. But every
yeah.
damn day, and that's New York. That's New York. It is an incredible number of little tribes that do not work together, do not give a shit about each other, hate each other. And are constantly at each other's throats, and these little shit Karens in Manhattan are able to manipulate everything. That's what New York City
Yeah,
is.
yeah, unfortunately, because I tell people upstate is more rural than people want to
Oh,
admit.
way more. Albany is an incredibly small
Uh,
place. Yeah, that's the capital.
but not just that. I mean, you got places like Ithaca and Utica,
Oh yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
those are small places. Buffalo is the biggest
Beautiful, actually.
city, outside of the five boroughs most people are aware of.
True. It is gorgeous though. Upstate, if you drive outside of New York and go north, head toward Buffalo, dude, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah,
gorgeous. Beautiful forests, nice places to live. Albany has a little bit of a problem, but I haven't heard anything about Buffalo. I don't know. But
I,
yeah.
I, I, I I would actually move to upstate
Well, it's
because
gorgeous.
there's
Yeah.
there's some places there where like the cost of living doesn't seem too bad, but the problem is that they're still subject to the other retarded fucking laws in New York, and I'm like, well, nope, not doing it.
Right.
Nope,
I would suggest, and I know this is absolute blasphemy, New Jersey.
nah.
How
They
dare
can
I?
have they can have the swamp
How dare I?
because
Yeah.
because New Jersey is what I call that little brother state. They
It
follow
is
whatever the
beautiful
fuck
though.
New York
They
does.
do. It is gorgeous though. The problem, I don't know if it's the same when I was young. The problem in Jersey, driving through Jersey were the paper mills, and it smelled so bad, right? Um, but all those New England things, I grew up in New England, of course. But but a lot of people say, "Oh, they're so Democrat." Yeah, they're union. They're union people is what they really are. They're not like California liberals. They're different. They're
Yeah.
union people, and they're all desperate about their unions, and that, of course, brings its own problems. Nevertheless, New York, New York. It's unfortunate, dude. I had some good times in New York, and I had some bad times in New York. My favorite time
Yeah.
living in New York was in the Village, oddly enough. Um,
Yeah.
Seriously, because I lived in, you know how they have all those brownstone warehouses over on the west docks over there in the Village, and they still use them, but it had been turned into like a kind of like a I want to call it a youth hostel. It wasn't, but it was kind of like a youth hostel, and for rents in Manhattan, it's super cheap, right? As a musician. I was a studio musician in New York, and I lived in the Village. And although that you run into some wackadoodles, um, it was generally happy and friendly environment. I'd hate to wonder what it looks like now, dude. It must be absolute Karen woke tard nightmare now. Hey, when's the last time you went to the Village?
Uh, yeah. That I I barely. Village was well because I was younger. I didn't go to. It wasn't a place I went often.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. It is kind of an
'Cause
artist commune, is what it really is, which is why I was there because I was suggested. I was a member of the Music Federation,
the most
the union.
well, I don't know if they still have it. The Village Voice. You used to be
Oh
able to
yeah,
pick
yeah,
up
yeah.
that paper.
That's true. That's true. That's
It
true.
was Craigslist
Doc
before Craigslist. You'd find some interesting shit in those back pages.
Doctor Strange lives in the village. Sanctum
Yeah.
Sanctorum is in the village. But anyway, well, that's enough of the yammering. Thank you guys all for coming in. Do appreciate it. Keep in mind, in 2 days we have Umbral session 12. I think we're up to. We're starting to move along, getting into kind of the bigger campaign storyline. So if you're interested in that, come on, check it out. Of course, later this week we are doing Drone Recorder Ultimate Edition, and I don't know what the artists have decided upon because I try to stay out of it. I did give a suggestion of doing something a little more classic, like a superhero, either a specific one or a team or something like that. We'll see what they decide. The good thing about that show, it is a lot of people watch it. I mean, that thing usually averages around 150 or so views. So a lot of people do enjoy that show, and I get it because the artists are amazing. So other than that, thank you very much. And Grimlock, would you like to say any kind of words of wisdom?
No words of wisdom other than be safe out here. The crazies are out early this year, and it's only going to get crazier.
That's true. Summer's coming. The lunatics are in charge of the asylum. Anyway, later, everybody.